Hello, one and all. Welcome back to the Cobalt Wins League for the penultimate match of the First Division. The Season 5 playoffs continue tonight with a lower bracket final best of 3 between first seed Polymorphed and third seed Underworld Empire. Polymorphed were able to remain in the upper bracket right up until just a few days ago when they were defeated by Reef Tsunami in a 2-0 sweep. Underworld Empire, on the other hand, were born in the lower bracket, molded by it. Most recently, they defeated second seed Connecting Esports in a 2-1 match win this past Thursday. UWE have run the gauntlet so far, but now they will face their toughest opponent yet. When these two teams met in the regular season, it was one Nexus apiece in their two-game set. Underworld took the first game with early aggression in the bot lane and scaling in mid. AD Kalem was 9-4 on the Lucian and D Wowza 10-3 on the Kassadin. In the second game, Polymorphed came back very strong, winning all three lanes and taking the Nexus in just 25 minutes. The winner tonight will go on to face Reef Tsunami in the grand finals. Loser will end their season in third place. Bringing you all of the action from the CWL studio, my name is Crewman. I'm joined tonight by Kat. Kat, how you doing?
Hello. Oh, what an introduction. Yeah, I'm very excited to be here. I think we've got a really nice series on our hands. There's big storylines for both teams, so yeah, it should be really exciting.
It certainly will be. Getting towards the end of Season 5 here. Only a few teams are left in the running. Reef Tsunami obviously waiting in those grand finals to go up against the winner of this match. And as you said, there are some storylines here. I believe, Underworld Empire in particular, Kalem in the bot lane has a little bit of history against Reef Tsunami. Really going to be looking for that rematch this season in finals.
Yeah, so coming back with different team members in mid, top, and jungle. Another thing that I'd look at is UWE have played so many series, playing 3 up until now and winning them all. Whereas Polymorph, they played 1, they lost 1. I don't think they've really been pushed up until now. Obviously, they were our first seed in the regular season. Not really dropping that many games, and now they've come into playoffs. They're right at the last hurdle before finals, and they get knocked down a peg by Reef Tsunami. So now my question is, have they recovered? Are they able to match the experience that UWE have been racking up with the momentum from their lower bracket run? Or are they just going to fizzle out and not really find a spark in the playoffs?
Absolutely, Kat. It is going to be really interesting to see, right? Something that we've actually seen many times, both at the highest level of play, at the competitive level, and down here in the amateur scene as well, is sometimes these lower bracket runs, as you were just saying, that momentum that these teams can build up in the lower bracket can, actually surprisingly often be very, very impactful and actually carry those lower bracket teams through all the way to the finals, and in some cases even allow them to end up taking the trophy. We've seen it many times, so definitely a possibility for Underworld Empire here in this one.
Definitely. I'm not sure if I would peg one team or the other as favorites with the way that playoffs has gone. I think it could be quite a close series, maybe even back and forth going to 3 games. First game will be really telling about who's got a good read against the other team, who's coming in strong. But I can definitely see it going all the way. We'll also have to focus in on individual players. Obviously, with Polymorphed having some really strong solo laners. Apto Fangirl really carrying some games. Picked up 2 MVP awards in the group stage. But then over on the side of UWE, Kalem has been on fire and on point every single game. I have not seen him drop the ball and solo lose any games. He's been non-stop, consistent, dealing great damage. So, we'll have to see if he can put up the same performance again.
Absolutely. Kalem down there in the bottom lane for UWE and the solo lanes, Fangirl in particular for Polymorphed, as you just mentioned. But are there any champions in particular, Kat, that you're going to be looking out for here in this Game 1 draft?
Of course. Bans are always open. Some teams might just go for target bans. They might just decide to go for what they think is OP. Like Gragas is one that I always think about. For UWE, I have to wonder if they get Kalem's Lucian. He's performed really well on this pick every time it's came up. Lucian Milo has been shown to be quite strong. More teams are kind of picking up on it. So something to consider. Other than that, I mean, both teams can obviously play different play styles. I wouldn't mind seeing, champs like Jinx, or maybe even just pick a weak side bot and play towards your solo laners. So if you're polymorphed, I wouldn't mind seeing a draft around LeBlanc, maybe Wukong, strong mid jungle, some support that can move around the map. Just attack UWE and don't let them get to any team fights. Just completely take them out of the game in the first 15 minutes and set yourself up for victory. Because I think polymorphed players are very strong. I think if they get to a point where they're happy in the game, they could probably win. It's just about getting to that point where, we're playing champs we like, we've got good setup, we know where to press our buttons and how and why. We can just let the game flow out. But if you disrupt them with either what you're picking in draft or what you're doing in the early game, I think things could quite quickly fall apart.
Absolutely, Kat. Obviously, all of these players on both teams are really strong. Otherwise, the teams wouldn't have made it this far in the tournament. But, as we've kind of been discussing, there are definitely some key differences in how these two teams actually like to play out the game, how they generally strategize, for their matches. So it's kind of an interesting question, right? As you were sort of just alluding to, whether we're going to be seeing these teams really trying to play towards their respective strengths and really kind of fully index into that, or if they're going to be looking more to try and shut down their opponents, what their opponents are really good at. Especially for game one, I know it's kind of even, I feel, between those two schools of thought. What are you expecting? Maybe we can start with polymorph. Do you think they're really just going to be looking to play around those solo lanes, or are they going to maybe be focusing a little bit more on trying to shut down this bottom side for UWE?
I think they will go heavily into their solo lanes. So in the games against Reef, the thing that really stuck out to me was they were completely negated from draft. It was like mid-top couldn't really have the impact they wanted. And while bot lane maybe didn't do too bad, we had picks like we had a Lucian, we had a Zeri in the 2-game series. I think their style is, let's let our mid carry. Let's maybe put top on a teamfight champion or something that can maybe weak side a bit. And let's play through mid, let's play through bot. So I don't imagine they're going to change it up now. I think it would maybe be a mistake to try and undo all of the work they've done up until now. We just maybe need to see some adaptations in the way that they pick their champions, so they can give more space to, Apto, who maybe wants to play an Akali, or maybe wants to play LeBlanc if it makes it through first phase, something like that.
Certainly. Well, it does look like polymorphed are going to be on the red side here for game number 1, so that should afford them, that counter pick. If they do want to play around Fangirl in the mid lane.
Yeah, and I think it's ideal because on the other side, you got UWE, who play quite often weak side top lane. They really like the GP from what I've seen. The jungler plays a lot of Wukong, a lot of Jarvan, a lot of Sejuani, and we play towards bot. Kalem is our man. We get him gold. He will carry us. He will have a massive damage share in the team fights. So you almost know what UWE is going to do. And now, if you set yourself up to have a really strong top side, a jungler that could play around that, or play around your mid lane, getting roams onto the map, suddenly that can almost become a critical weakness where suddenly UWE's top side is completely exposed. We can crush them, we can build big leads, we can take that to the Drake fights, and we can try and flip the game. Maybe then you're so far ahead of, say, Kalem or whatever champs are trying to fight, and you can win from that point. So really it comes down to, okay, let's say both teams get what they want. Who is going to make the first move? Who's going to be able to drag the game into their favor and then pull massively ahead? Because I think both teams are pretty good at doing that. When they get a lead, they really run with it. So I'm very interested to see what the early game is like. Where will the first fights be? Are we going to find ganks, or will it be solely set up around objectives?
Certainly, yeah. I mean, two very strong teams here, of course. So hoping to see some clean League of Legends, and
Oh,
hoping also, of course, to get into that first draft phase pretty soon, guys. Hopefully, we'll be getting into that relatively shortly. We have, talked about the teams a fair bit.
Mhm.
Anything particularly noteworthy with the patch that you want to discuss, Kat? We've been sitting on this one for a couple of weeks now. Nothing really too massive there, I think.
Yeah, not really. I'm not a big fan of the patches at the minute, to be honest.
Mm.
I mean, I understand it's MSI. It seems like the direction they're going is they don't want to heavily shake up the meta, but that's actually what I would like to see. Maybe the most noteworthy is actually the Kha'Zix buff. I think his numbers are pretty good. I think there's some spots where Kha'Zix can be played and can actually be played as a strong champion. Outside of that, not too much. There is the new Cosmic Drive, which I do actually think is really good. I think that's an interesting change. I think a lot of champions can build it as well, whereas in the past, very few champions could actually utilize it, whereas now, I think there's a lot of cases to go at second and third.
For sure,
Especially on junglers, actually, where something I'll point out is a lot of the jungle items got nerfed. Demonic got nerfed. Radiant got nerfed. A lot of these, quote-unquote OP items, outside of maybe Black Cleaver, got nerfed. So gradually, you want, you're still looking for stat sticks. You want really strong second or first AP items. If you can keep Cosmic Drive stacked in a fight, it's a pretty good option. So, I mean, it's something I've been testing out a lot. I think it's definitely viable. Whether it's good or not, or the best, not sure. But yeah, it's definitely something to consider, and it's nice to see anyways.
Definitely. Yeah, I feel like the new Cosmic Drive is pretty good. The changes that were made to it did kind of seem like it's slightly less good on Lilia now. And that is the main champion that I personally was building it on.
Yeah.
But still, it feels reasonably strong. And Lilia also did receive a couple of nice little buffs. So she's in a pretty good place right now. There were also some minor buffs to Nidalee and to Poppy. For any of you MSI viewers out there, send us some awares in the YouTube chat. But yeah, I really don't think that the patches was super impactful or anything like that. Nidalee is not really a champion that we see a whole lot, at this level of play or here in the CWL League just in general.
No, I mean, it's a weird patch. I feel like the first few picks typically are just an exchange of the same pool of champions. You've got a Gragas, you've got the same standard AD carries. Occasionally, you'll just pick a jungler first phase, but not as often as I think we are getting into draft. Very exciting. It's literally all I'm here for. I love draft.
Here we go. Sorry about the delay, everybody, but yes, indeed, Kat, we are getting into that Game 1 draft. At the top of the screen, it looks like Underworld Empire are actually possibly going to be on the red side. Not entirely sure. Maybe we can wait on confirmation for that one. Because in the client, it is definitely appearing that Polymorph are the ones on the red side, so not entirely certain.
Not to throw logic under the bus or anything, but yeah, Polymorphed are on the red side, so a little bit of a graphic error. I'm sure he'll update that in his own time.
Oh, team's just waiting on, I believe, the ready up from Underworld Empire in the client chat here.
I understand drafting is really difficult.
Just teams want to make sure that they're ready, of course.
Yep. Wouldn't pressure anyone. Both teams need to be ready to play their absolute best. This is a very important series. I'm now going to add whoever's not readied up and pressure them in DMs.
Yeah, it's okay. We'll just hang out for a second.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm really happy to be hanging out with you, crewman. I think we're going to have a great time tonight.
Pleasure's all mine, of course, Kat.
Oh.
How was your day so far?
I've mostly been at work all day, to be honest. I am trialing a new job.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
yeah, it's been really fun. Something different. I'm near enough working in a shoe factory. Not where I thought I'd end up, but really enjoyable actually. So yeah, maybe I'll drop
Nice.
BWL and go make shoes full time.
Oh, I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Yeah, it's something different, you know.
At least you usually don't have, extended delays at the start of your shoe factory shifts, right?
yeah. Just get right into it. Oh god. It's okay though. I'm pretty good at talking. People tell me. Typically, they have issues shutting me up. So
I'm generally decent at it as well.
yeah. Okay. Right. So we have returned to the draft screen. Does this mean we are gonna draft? Okay, we are still waiting on an Underworld Empire. But I hope and I have faith that we are very almost there. So what I'll do in the meantime, because we do seem to have a small amount of time, let's predict some bans for both teams, shall we?
Sure.
So, polymorphed. Okay, so one champion I mentioned earlier, Gragas. I think this is almost surely going to pick up a ban. I think polymorphed will ban this on red side. Whether Underworld Empire decide to ban it on red side, I'm not sure. But I'm sure Gragas is going to go. My second question would be, does LeBlanc get banned away on blue side?
You feel like the Gragas ban is definitely more important than the LeBlanc ban, huh?
I do actually, yeah. I think if the enemy team can prove that they're willing to play it in multiple roles, I definitely think it does. I think even if you flex the champ into a okay matchup, because he doesn't really have many bad ones, you're still getting really good value out of that. I think even when he's not getting the best situation, it's still a high value pick.
Definitely.
But then again, I mean, let's say Apto got his LeBlanc through. I mean, you can't understate the value that pick would have to a certain person. Like, he might just get LeBlanc and say, the game's over. You know, I've been there, I understand what that feels like. So, potentially, especially in a first game, right, where you still have some time to, I won't say oddball and throw completely random things out there, but you do have a chance to change things up if this game doesn't go your way. So if you were going to test, well, can the enemy team play Gragas and beat us with it? This is your one and only chance to do it. And keep in mind, this is lower bracket. There are no second chances. If you lose the series, you are out. So,
oh yeah,
I'm not completely against, testing the waters a little bit in game one, building yourselves up. I don't know if there's any nerves for any of the players, but something I quite like to do in series is go in slow with the first game, always. Pick something really simple and just react to whatever the enemy does. And slowly, you'll come online, you'll forget about your nerves, you'll play the game out. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see, really, but it would be exciting to see a LeBlanc, so I'm hoping it maybe makes it through.
Sure. I mean, obviously the Gragas and the LeBlanc, two very different styles, right? As you were just saying, the Gragas, a very safe pick. Even if you do fall behind, it's a champion that can still have a high impact in the game, just, due to what he has in the kit. Whereas the LeBlanc, much more volatile. If the LeBlanc does get ahead, then she can, as you said, really take over the game. But that is, not necessarily always the case. So, like you said, we'll have to wait and see.
Okay.
So the reason for the delay, guys, we did just get an update. Apparently, Underworld Empire are missing one of their players. So that is why we have not been able to get started yet. Apparently, they are going to have about 5 to 7 minutes to actually arrive here in the lobby to get started, or the side of Underworld Empire will have to forfeit game 1.
Which would be really unfortunate.
It sure would be, yeah.
It's definitely not a good mood setter when, obviously we don't know the circumstances or what might be happening behind the scenes, but, it's really upsetting when you lose a game because someone couldn't be there, or, it takes it completely out of your hands. So I'd really feel for the players if that's what does happen. Hopefully they can either return or we can get someone else in, substitute or something, etc. Well, I mean, we'll have to wait and see.
I mean, especially as you were just saying, in such an important match like this, to have even the outcome of a single game decided by not being able to field a full roster is obviously far from ideal. So hopefully that does get resolved. I'm thinking maybe we just kind of go to a short break while we wait and see if we are able to fill up our lobby here. I mean, I guess we could also just kind of hang out and keep chatting, but I don't know. What do you think, Kat?
I mean, I'm happy to stay chatting, but maybe other people do not want to listen to my random rambling. It's a bad habit of mine, so...
Well, we did, as far as the bans were concerned, we didn't only really discuss the bans for Underworld Empire, possibly towards Fangirl in the mid lane there, if you wanted to sort of keep playing the ban guessing game.
Sure, tell you what I'll actually do then. I will give you 3 bans. So I did Polymorph, let's write this out for me. I'm going to predict Gragas, Lucian. What else would I ban if I was polymorphed? Well, if we want strong solo laners, we're not going to ban any mid-top champs outside of Gragas. I wonder if they'll target jungle bans, actually. Okay.
We do have a question from Fangirl in the chat, if we prefer cats or dogs.
That's awkward. Okay, well, funnily enough, I'm not named Cat just because I like cats. But I do.
Are you saying you're actually a dog person then?
Well, I'm starting to be a dog person. I was afraid of dogs for most of my life, mostly because I wasn't brought up around them. Now I'm being introduced to dogs, and oh my god, they are very cute. Funnily enough, at my workplace, the owner and the administrator, they bring in their dogs to work, and the dogs just run around the building like it's almost in a circular loop. So they just run around, they come up to you, they hang out. I made friends with one of the dogs. So yeah, I mean, they're definitely growing on me. I don't know if I would get a dog. I mean, it's my dream to maybe move out and have a few kittens. Maybe I'll sneak a dog into there. But yeah, for now anyways, cat person, I think.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'm actually quite torn myself as well on the question. I really do like both cats and dogs as well.
I mean, neither are bad, but I also have respect for the people who go for more exotic pets. Like,
sure.
I never thought I would say it, but I have a friend who has rats, and I've seen the rats, and they are actually super cute and friendly. So, yeah, I mean, I can't really see myself wanting to have rats, but I mean, it's cool. They're cute.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there. Honestly, I don't really fully understand, wanting to have the rat as a pet as opposed to maybe some other options that you can.
I don't know how you get to there. Like maybe the parents just dropped you a rat off for your birthday, but
yeah, I mean, it's to each their own, right? Different strokes, different folks. It's why somebody would want a rat as a pet isn't necessarily a completely different reason than why somebody would want a dog or a cat. You just kind of do want that. So that's a thing for some people, which I think we can understand.
I think we might have another question coming in from our favorite fan.
Oh, let's see.
No longer Apto Fangirl. Oh,
just some love in the client chat there. Love you too, guys. Hoping for some great League of Legends, assuming we can get onto the Rift.
Assuming. It's not quite how I thought I'd be spending my evening, but still, I'm hoping we're gonna get a 3-game series. It would be the dream. If not, 2-game series, UWE. We'll just sweep them. It'll be fine.
Yeah. As many games as we can get. Really is what we're looking for.
Again, sweep them 3.
If
I don't actually have a timer. I'm not 100% where.
Looks like they have 1 minute left for Underworld Empire before the time will expire on fielding the roster for this first game.
I'm gonna start shaking. Come I've just realised as well, I've been potentially scammed out of a draft. Like, we might potentially only get 2
you were
drafts.
just saying that was like your favorite thing, and
It
you
is
know,
my
might not
favourite
even
thing.
get to.
League of
so
Legends exists for
I
drafting.
wonder if the draft like did actually happen, just like without the fifth player actually participating in it, or if like they actually weren't able to even get that far. That much is not necessarily clear to us at this moment.
Yeah. Crazy. Wow. So
If they
everyone
did
in
do
the
a
lobby-
draft, that could be something that we could, you know, maybe pull up and
Yeah.
at least talk about. But
I'd be interested in doing
again,
that. I'll
really
have a
not
look.
sure.
Just curious little note. Everyone in the lobby is talking about McDonald's or KFC. I am of the opinion that KFC is always disappointing, and I just thought I'd throw it out there that I do not think I've ever had a satisfying KFC meal.
Yeah, I really don't do too much KFC myself either.
Yeah. So I can tell you. So we are going to go break from the sounds of it. I have
That is what
pulled
you're
up
gonna tell
the
them.
draft lol for their game, so we can always come back and talk about that, and we'll see, you know, if UWE can sort out a player for themselves.
We shall see. Hopefully that will be the case. Hopefully we can get some League of Legends on the CWL stream tonight. But as you say, Kat, we are going to go to a short break while Underworld Empire look for their E-sub. Hopefully we will be back soon, guys, with some League of Legends. Until then, we'll see you here. Okay, everyone, welcome back. Thank you so much for your patience. We do now have 10 players in this lobby, and they are ready to do some League of Legends. Very, very exciting stuff, Kat. And actually, one other thing to note here before we get into this draft, Polymorphed, being the Giga Chads that they are, have decided to generously give up their free win that they were awarded for their opponents not being on time. And so we are going to be actually starting this best of 3, I believe, at 0-0.
Yes, so the draft that they used before will run through. So obviously we're seeing that now. Milo ban, the Jarvan ban. Ooh, okay, so there's going to be no Lucian Milo, which was something that I was maybe considering UWE to play. Maybe they think the enemy team on red side would pick a Jinx Milo, something like that. So,
yeah.
Malphite is a really interesting first phase ban, though. It's something normally you see in the second phase. I'm not sure if that's because they think he'll be really good against what they want to pick. Whereas Polymorphed are going really hard in on the teamfight junglers that I mentioned earlier, the Sejuani, the Jarvan, because it is basically what UWE have played.
Yeah, certainly. See if this last ban from Polymorph is also going to be towards the jungle position. If they're just going to look to ban out Isaac here as much as possible, no, it will be the Jinx. That makes a lot of sense.
We've got
Jinx has been a very
we've got Zyro.
B1 pick. Yeah, lots of stuff still open though.
Yeah, it's UWE can go basically wherever they want with this. A Lulu pick. So that surprises me a little bit, but there's definitely AD carry options open. This could definitely be a Lulu flex as well. I wouldn't count it out. We are getting a bit trolled by Polymorphed. Aphelios, okay. So they have a really clear direction in mind, obviously. The Yuumi, I'm not too sure about. I think Yuumi loses quite hard in isolation with Lulu, and you maybe don't want it with the Aphelios. I wouldn't be surprised if they picked something to either peel or Refresh is a pretty common response. It's gone up in charts for most support players.
I think we are all definitely much more excited about the Thresh than we would be about something like the Yuumi.
Lulu,
so definitely happy to see that. But yeah, the Kog'Maw being hovered there, which I guess the other option that would be very strong with the Lulu.
I mean, it does outrange Aphelios, but okay, we get Caleb Sivir. So Sivir Irie, very fast lock. They know what they want. They're going strong team fight, back to front. We want the enemy team to run into us. We're going to pick mobile champs. You know, you've got Sivir, you've got Irie to reposition. Let's see if Polymorphed are going to pick, a mid champ for Apto. I mean, LeBlanc is open, so is many of the mage picks.
And Gragas, of course, as well.
True. Wouldn't be a terrible option. You'd keep a good flex.
Seems pretty good into the Ahri as well. Probably pretty tough for Ahri to pressure the Gragas out of lane, but going to be the Zac instead. So also a flex option, of course.
So I think what's going on there is they just think Zac's going to get banned out second phase. I know their jungler is quite a strong Zac player, so I imagine they were like, right, let's just take this, prioritize it over, say LeBlanc or another champ. What I will comment on is UWE has basically had their jungle pool wiped out. From what I can see, most of the games played this season were across PLY, Sejuani, Jarvan. So outside of maybe a Wukong, I'm not sure what he's going to pull out. And there you go. So there Wukong's gone as well. So we are going to be pushing the champion pool now. At this point, 4 bans. I mean, I don't know if you count that a win or not. It's a lot.
It's quite the focus, quite the heavy focus from Polymorph towards Isaac here. It's either they're identifying Isaac as a really big threat, or they just felt like they could ban out the whole pool, kind of like as you were just saying, and really try and put the jungler for UWE on something that they're maybe not quite as comfortable with. Maokai now being hovered.
Yeah, I would quite like this. I think it's really good into the immobile Syndra and Aphelios. And it's not terrible against Zac in isolation. You can queue Zac out of his E, so the micro interactions are quite nice. So yeah, that's picked up, and I really like the direction that UWE have gone in. They've reinforced their team fight quite well.
100%. Yeah, that's actually where I was about to go with it as well. It's going to offer some great frontline for the Sivir and for the Ahri as well. So I agree. I like the Maokai pick, and now we just need likely the top laner for
maybe
Burger
GP?
Flipper.
maybe a GP,
Yeah.
maybe they'll go full tank. Either would be really fine. Yeah, okay, so I really like the GP, once again. GP ult into Aphelios, Syndra, completely ruins their day. And yes, you have Fresh Lantern, but if you're using Fresh Lantern to get away from just a GP ult or something of that nature, you've got nothing for Maokai ult, you've got nothing for the Irie. So I really like taking strong team fight tools, and of course it's also a really good weak side pick.
Definitely.
The Olaf is the response, so we're definitely going explosive for the side of Polymorphed.
Yeah, the Olaf R5 pick into the Gangplank. What do you think about that matchup in the 1v1?
Well, I do
Olaf
think
definitely should win early, right?
yes, and while GP, I can see GP actually winning the matchup. Okay, I don't think the window that Olaf is strong in is actually super huge. It's only really strong in the first 8-9 levels, and then GP can actually play around his barrels pretty well. Obviously, Olaf can ult the slow, but it's still a big chunk, and if you can poke out Olaf in the lane phase, he can't actually all in you. Whether or not it's going to play out that way, I don't know. I have to think that Simply Magic knew this was coming. He knew that Burger Flipper was playing a lot of GP, and they left it open, so they have to have prepared for this. So I would like to think he's got the matchup that he wanted, he's happy with it, and now they know what to do. They're going to play, I imagine, either towards the Aphelios or towards the Olaf. Whether they'll actually be able to punish the GP is a different matter. But, I mean, I have to say, I think UWE's identity is a lot clearer, whereas Polymorphed, I'm not so sure. I think Zac and Olaf really want to go in, and Aphelios and Syndra really want to go out. So whether they're actually going to be able to cohesively find a team fight, I'm not sure. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how they pilot it and what sort of playstyle they go for. Yeah, definitely focus for me would be on the individual lanes. Do Polymorphed manage to get quite far ahead before UWE can get to that team fighting point where, you know, you've got multiple stacks on the Irie, you've got GP ult, you've got Sivir fully activated, and then suddenly you can kite out the enemy team, and it's not so much of a problem.
Yeah, I mean, definitely the Zac and the Olaf can do a decent job of initiating those fights, and the Aphelios and the Syndra, I think, are going to have some decently long-range follow-up, but that is very contextual, right? They kind of have to be in position to actually, get out that follow-up damage. You know, Aphelios has to have the right guns, this sort of thing, so it can be a little tricky.
Both teams want to be at the objective or at the fight first. You know, Aphelios does not want to walk into the enemy team, neither does Sivir, nor does GP. So you have to ask, well, which team can actually get the priority? And early on, that's definitely UWE. Syndra later on can probably just brute force the Irie out. And Aphelios Fresh, while it is quite a good lane, unless you're getting jungle hovered, I don't think you can fist fight for the prio against a Lulu. So it might actually be a little bit messy where UWE might just be able to get prio with their pushing lanes in the early game and do absolutely nothing. And that is absolutely horrendous and boring, but I think it's a very good way to win. You know, you take away the options for Polymorph to actually attack your lanes. You're using your prio to put out wards, you know, fish for enemy ganks that might be coming, and suddenly your early game weakness completely disappeared. So,
well, you know, Zac can come from some unique angles, so maybe trying to ward out for those possible ganks might be easier said than done, but we shall see, guys. Almost done with this spectator delay. We're going to go to a short break, but when we come back, it's going to be Underworld Empire versus Polymorphed for a spot in the finals. Don't go anywhere.
Woo!
on the red. Pretty casual level 1, it looks like, that we're looking at here, Kat. Any runes or summoner spells that you'd like to point out?
I think everything is pretty standard. The only thing I'd maybe comment on is Aphelios Conqueror. I feel quite strongly about this because I am an Aphelios one trick, okay? It's my most played champion, funnily enough. I think Conqueror in games where you can't hit is very difficult to use. Right. And I think in this game he should struggle a bit. I mean, if he does manage to get it stacked, I'd have to check, but I'm going to imagine he has overheal as well. Yeah, he does. So if he does manage to get it stacked, he has maybe red and blue, get fast stacks. It's going to be very nice for keeping him alive. But in the small skirmishes, especially the 2v2, the 3v3, not going to be packing as much of a punch as you would maybe expect for an Aphelios fresh lane. But everything else is pretty standard, I think. I'll also just note as well, Aphelios has gone cool start, which is pretty telling. True. He thinks he's going to have a decent amount of lane control, not be under any pressure, so fair enough. So really,
or at least, you know, not wanting to necessarily be super proactive about looking for early looks in this lane. Just
we are having a lot of top trading, which is cool. Yeah, so the small trades coming out from both lanes. Looking well, top lane is actually going pretty well favored for GP. The casters, however, are really pulled up, which is definitely not ideal. He's going to hit level 2 first, but pushing into Olaf is not where you want to be. So it'll be interesting to see if Olaf can actually leverage this into a level 3 kill. You can see Zac is instantly moving into the lane because he knows GP is in a sticky situation. And Maokai has not been able to move yet. He's only level 2, coming up on 3, as we do hit a Q.
Popri just the poke clear on the top side and going with the slingshot, gets the flash out of Burger Flipper. A nice gank towards this top side for Popri Vatch, but Isaac here for the counter gank. Maokai flashing over that wall to try and lock down the Zac. Popri Vatch running out of HP, does of course have the passive to buy a little bit more time, so they're going to try and focus down the Olaf first. They get the Zac, but it's going to be first blood over to Simply Magic on this Olaf. He almost gets Burger Flipper as well, and he will. It's a double kill over to the top laner for Polymorphed.
Magic, what was that? What a nice flash, actually. Wow. I didn't think there was any chance that we're going to turn that around, but he actually manages to flash out the damage, and with a final tick of the red buff, he kills GP as well. I mean, that's a huge win for your counter pick, R5, Olaf. I mean, you now both have no flash, but Olaf has Ghost. So, definitely in a very commanding position for Polymorphed in the top side.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's kind of where Olaf is the strongest, honestly, right? Is in the early game. He can do a surprising amount of damage in a very, very short amount of time, and did definitely seem like Underworld Empire were maybe a little bit caught off guard by that in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's also just the Q slow. The fact that getting hit at any point in the lane can almost lead to an all-in and a kill. So you're constantly under pressure, constantly having to make sure that you're not in a position where you can get hit by said Q, which makes it harder to CS. Constant pressure. It's less time you're thinking about the map, thinking about the game. So we'll have to see how well Burger Flipper actually handles his own positioning, or whether he crumbles under the pressure.
Yeah, I mean, gonna have to start playing it a little bit safer now that the Olaf already has 2 kills, so hopefully the positioning from the gangplank will be on point, as you say. Both junglers now on the bottom side of the map, as Maokai looking forward, pushing slightly into that jungle, as Magic trying to get the wave in, and getting off a decent trade while he's at it. One more parlay, though, one more undertow.
Nice, Conqueror
pretty even.
So I have to imagine he's just going to crash. He doesn't have flash, so it's a little bit hard to dive there, which is fair enough. One thing I will know is, if you look at the minimap, the vision is very telling for both teams. You've got Polymorphed with wards all over the top side river, and you've got wards for UWE all over the bot side river. So I wouldn't be surprised if they either go towards an early Drake, which it looks like Maokai is moving into. They're going to utilize their pressure to try and take that. Irie in the early game is strong enough to get the push with a W, so it should just be a free Drake without contest.
Does that definitely appear to be the case? You know, as you say, mid lane and bot lane both having priority for Underworld Empire here around the 5-minute mark. And Isaac just straight on towards that objective and they will be able to lock it down. So first Dragon of the game to Underworld Empire, and still a couple of minutes out on that Rift Herald. Obviously, Polymorph really going to be hoping to secure that one to make it a trade between those early neutrals.
Yeah,
They do have the top prio with the Olaf, right?
Yeah, you have to think it would be difficult for them to actually walk into the Rift Herald and contest a Zac and an Olaf, especially when you've got Ghost and you can run them down in that extended space. I mean, it's kind of like UWE are cheating. They scale really well, but the champs also get push early game. It's, you know, a little bit of a cheat code, but they utilize that, they get a Drake, and now they've got more time to scale, as we might have a possible gank on the top side. Remember that Burger Flipper has no flash.
Is back, and yes, no flash quite yet on the game.
Will they find him?
As you say, very patient is the Zac, but here comes the Maokai. It's going to be Isaac also making their way into this top lane, but the tree, I believe, has been spotted. Here goes Magic. The Cannon Barrage available for a Burger Flipper, though. Going to get a lot of damage out here. Simply Magic ghosting, having to run away from this one, but Zac, no passive available anymore, and they're going to be able to get that kill on the PLY. Still going for the play, even with level 6 on the gangplank, and Maokai in position to counter gank. Definitely not working out for Underworld Empire there, and this is going to be a really big wave now that is denied from Magic.
Yeah, I mean, Fresh is moving in, but I find it hard to think that they're going to find anything.
Olaf still not level 6. Don't know access to the Ragnarok. He has a Dark Passage to try and get towards safety, and they're going to be able to cut down the tree. Still no level 6. Oh, and he doesn't need it.
How?
That's another double kill for Magic. Somehow, on almost no HP, he turns it around.
I mean, he definitely abused the vision there to get one up on them, but still, that's so disgusting. I mean, it's
Olaf Gaming.
Yeah, definitely not the situation that UWE wanted to be coming out with. I mean, with the amount of minions that Olaf was losing, that could have been a massive swing for Burger Flipper and the GP, but I'm not 100%, but it probably ends up...
Oh, the Unleashed Power. Oh, yes, that was a necessary flash for Baboon in the mid lane. If he had stuck around near Fangirl, that would have been a dead Ahri for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not sure if that was maybe a little bit of greed from Baboon, but it must be really nice trading from the Syndra to actually push out and force these sums from the Ahri, because I don't think it's particularly a strong lane phase from Syndra. I think Ahri is pretty self-sufficient, so obviously getting from one way or another a one-up on Baboon, so it's a nice advantage.
We've talked about it a lot already, Kat, right? Fangirl is such a huge point of strength for this polymorphed roster, and, you know, we're really seeing it here in the laning phase as well. Maokai, though, on the Rift Herald, and Pokryvatch is in the area, so we could see another fight breaking out on this top side. Top laner's still in the lane for now, but Ahri moving as well. It was a reset timer there for Fangirl, so it's going to be Underworld Empire that locked down the Rift Herald, and they get both early neutrals. Dark Passage from Mattia looking for it, but the Flay doesn't quite land. The Spell Shield, though, was early, and now the box will come out. It's going to be a flash forward for Pace to secure the kill, but takes a turret shot for that one, and it will be traded back as both AD carries go down. The Lulu getting the last hit on the Aphelios. Looking for the double, though. Mattia, potion ticking, has a little bit of shielding as well from the Lantern, but it's not going to be enough as Jesse does make it a 2-for-1.
That tasted purple. Yeah, I mean, it was a really nice opening to the play, actually. Obviously, the spell shield from Kalon came out a little bit early and maybe didn't block the spell that he wanted. When Lulu came in, it looked like, okay, well, actually, we can turn. The sheen damage from GP. I mean, he is on Essence Reaver. I hate to be that guy, but the window for Olaf winning this lane is slowly but surely disappearing.
It's looking pretty closed, that window at the moment. I gotta say here, Kat, and Simply Magic, I think, might agree with us, as he's just going to channel that recall, head back towards the fountain, not wanting to stick around and test his luck against the Pirate right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a complete disaster, but the unfortunate nature of it is, if Olaf wants to start threatening GP again, he needs more gold. But at this point in the game, he's going to get less gold because GP's going to zone him, as we have really heavy training in the mid lane.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Fangirl just bullying Baboon underneath the turret here. Cannon Barrage comes in from Burger Flipper just to clear the minion wave. Here comes the jungler, though. That's going to be the charm landing, and that's going to be a dead Syndra. So, Apto Fangirl there, not really respecting the possible Maokai gank, definitely getting punished a little bit.
Yeah, with Herald now going down in the mid lane. I mean, ooh, so I hate to think that Irie's pushing up so far without any vision on the enemy jungler, but it does look like we actually, yeah, we've got no wards deep. So was hovering the Raptor wall, but didn't actually know if Maokai was there, was maybe faking that she had the vision, but either way, Maokai just comes in and stat checks with the ult, and we're able to negate some of that pressure. Kill onto Irie, we get to push out the wave,
Yeah,
get some
huge,
time, yeah, get it back onto, because she should ideally get Everfrost before Syndra can get her Mythic now. If she wants, she can always farm base TP. Might not decide the game, but, you know, it's a small edge as Polymorphed move in for the dragon.
Yeah, looking to tie up this dragon count at 1-1, and the side of Underworld Empire are in the area. They don't really, not in position to contest this one, and it will get burned down by the side of Polymorphed. So are able to tie up those dragons, and we're going to have an Ocean Soul for this first game.
Which is not the best, definitely not the worst.
Sure.
I think both teams can appreciate this. Both teams already have some natural healing as well. So if it does go the length and Ocean Soul becomes a problem, both teams would already be incentivized to buy a little bit of anti-healing. So I think that's completely fine. But getting one Drake for the side of Polymorphed is really nice, because the last thing you wanted was for UWE to find a way to get 2 Drakes in the early game really fast. Because if you make any mistakes, Soul itself, and suddenly it is very difficult to fight your way out of it. So stopping the early stacking is really nice. And now they have a bit more time to...
Magic has the Ragnarok. Gonna be okay for now. We're looking at the mid lane at the moment as Fangirl is getting chunked out quite a bit now. In the top lane, Ragnarok will be forced on the Olaf. Apto Fangirl going to be able to back off in mid. Both solo laners getting pushed back right now for Polymorphed.
Yeah, I mean...
the flash in. Burger Flipper looking for it. Finds it.
Yeah.
The trial by fire enough to get the kill there under the turret. And the Gangplank has really turned this lane around.
And Willie Greed... No? Yes? As well as Zach's leaving anyway, so it looks like he'll be able to push in that wave as well, and he still has his ult for the rest of the map. So, as we do have Zach in the mid lane.
Now, a lot of damage onto Baboon, and he's just going to zero out that Ahri. Taking a look now at this bot lane fight. Fox comes out for the disengage, and Pacico needing to get towards that lane. Actually going for the Moonlight Vigil. He's trying to stand and fight his Pacico, and actually going to get one on support, but Calum is still alive. And not necessarily an even trade, as it's the 80 carry that goes down for Polymorphed.
I mean, there was a bounty on Lulu, so ironically enough, not that bad.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there's still the wave that's going to crash. I mean, it's definitely not ideal, but for him getting caught out, yeah, maybe not the worst. I mean, I love the usage of the wards, and control warding the lantern is my favorite thing to do. I always buy control wards when I'm playing against Fresh. It completely ruins their day. Makes them feel invalid. So
is that what happened there? Was there a ward drop down on the lantern?
Oh yes, there was. That. So after Polymorph came out really nice and early onto Aphelios, and then it was 1 ward, 2 control wards, I believe, or was it 2 wards and 1 control ward? But yeah. So yeah, I mean, definitely. small micro interaction, but very nice. Meant that he couldn't lantern flash because both of them had flashes up, so there was definitely a way to get out as we.
Death Sentence just short there in mid.
Really short.
But definitely then, that bot lane fight, well played then by both sides, you know, getting the ward down on the Lantern, and then Pacico still able to trade one back onto the Lulu. So very nice.
Yeah, so question is now, are we going to have a Herald fight? Obviously, Polymorph don't really
my money's on yes.
But yes, it's looking that way.
That's going to be the stretching strikes, pulling back the Maokai on Isaac in trouble. Getting burned down here. There's no follow-up just yet from the rest of the team, but here comes the Ahri, but the Isaac will be the first casualty of this fight, and now it's going to be Baboon likely just having a Spirit Rush away, and it's going to be Lulu trying to flash over the wall to escape as well, but Jesse's not going to be so lucky. 2 kills now going over to Polymorphed. And unanswered thus far from Underworld Empire. Baboon and Burger Flipper trying to set a trap in this brush, but I think they know where they're at. Pokri has the passive going to be going into the bloblets, and Magic on the flank. No ult for Baboon. Not going to be able to make it over the wall with the flash either. And that is going to be the side of Polymorphed cleaning up in the team fight.
Yeah, that Death Sentence did not go wide. Cleaning up the fight. Poor AD carries, just watching all the action on the other side of the map. I mean, surprisingly, for the amount of kills that went over to Polymorph, the gold lead is not that massive. We're only sitting at 1.5k. Obviously, that's not factoring the Rift Herald drop, the XP, the gold that they might get from it. So it's definitely not deciding or anything, but so far the fights are looking to play out in Polymorph's favor. I mean, the initial engage from Zac actually chunked out Maokai so fast. It's kind of hard to think that he's a tank. It just seems like they are out damaging the side of UWE right now, which I suppose is understandable. We kind of highlighted they need time to get their items, right? But yeah,
well, Isaac, I mean, he's really not tanky yet. He went with the Demonic Embrace first, so no resistances really, and the Lucidity Boots as well. So, you know, you're absolutely right. The Maokai getting burned down so fast there before the rest of the team really had time to respond. Third Dragon is alive now, our first Ocean of the game, and we're going to have Zac Pokrivac dropping Shirley in the mid lane from some additional priority. Going to be Underworld Empire looking to contest through the bottom lane. Pokrivac going in with the slingshot, not going to connect onto anybody with that one just yet. Nice barrel chain from Burger Flipper. A little bit of chunk. Yeah, that's the Aphelios. Pasted Co. looking to join up with the rest of the team. Dark Passage will be there. Simply Magic. Like they're going to have to utilize the Ragnarok here. Forced to go back into the team fight, but that's going to be the shutdown. The trade back, though, onto the Sivir. That's Marksman down on the side of Underworld Empire. It's now Zac right in the thick of things, but no passive means he will trade himself as well. 2 for 2 so far in this fight. Death Sentence just short, but it's going to be the Lulu Jesse, the next casualty here, as Polymorph going +1 for now, but some pretty low health bars. And Burger Flipper still waiting in the wings. Yeah, Pasted Co. and company could look for a little bit more here, potentially.
He's considering. Okay, so it looks like they're just going to move into the bot lane, push out the waves, you know, reset, try at it again. Overall, considering the placement of the GPL and how hard it was for Polymorph to funnel in, I think that was a really good outcome for the fight. Zac managed to find a lot of damage. Once again, the Syndra was constantly hitting really good QEs, dealing a lot of damage. And then I also saw Moonlight Vigil hit on at least 2 or 3 targets. So despite the fight being so split, the key members for Polymorph were still managing to hit and deal damage, which is really important, and they have to be credited for that because it's not exactly easy when there is a GP ult, a Maokai ult, you know, all of these CC abilities.
Yeah, 100%, and they were kind of engaged on in that fight as well. It was kind of Magic that was forced to turn and fight. And Polymorph definitely did make the best of it, but now it's going to be the Aphelios who's in trouble. He has red and white guns, but he has no help. Oh, they're just barely. He gets to the Lantern, the Dark Passage, getting Pasted Co. to safety after Fangirl now forced to flash over the wall to get away from this engage. They are going to be able to take down the Lulu as well as the Ahri, and now it's going to be the Maokai that gets stunned up, but they do trade back onto the Thresh. Once again, it's a pretty even fight so far. 2 for 2, but Magic with the shield. I don't think he's going to be able to get away. One more auto attack. Calum picks up number 2 in this game, and this time around, Fangirl has the shield from the Seraphs, gonna be okay for now, but this time around it is Underworld Empire that go +1 in the fight.
What a crazy back and forth fight. I mean, even though the Aphelios got caught so early on, I'm not sure what it is about the right side jungle, keeps getting found in that area.
In that fight as well, it was kind of Magic that was forced to turn and fight.
Yeah, so
and Polymorph definitely
did make the best of it,
but now it's going to be the Aphelios who's in trouble. He has red and white guns, but he has no help. Oh, they're just barely. He gets to the Lantern, the Dark Passage, getting Pasted Co. to safety after Fangirl now forced to flash over the wall to get away from this engage. They are going to be able to take down the Lulu as well as the Ahri, and now it's going to be the Maokai that can stun up, but they can trade back onto the Thresh. Once again, it's a pretty even fight so far. 2 Magic with the shield. I don't think he's going to be able to get away. And they were kind of engaged on in that fight as well. It was kind of Magic. The Syndra play has been pretty on point so far in this game, but obviously not quite enough to win out in that fight. It is 2-1 up now for UWE in terms of those dragons.
Yeah. I mean, for a fight without your AD carry, I think probably the best you could expect.
Right.
They're probably just saying to themselves, look, right, okay, whatever happened doesn't matter. We know we weren't in the right position that fight. Let's take a second, you know, breathe. We're still in the driver's seat. We can still have a say.
Oh, nice charm landing for Baboon. That's going to be a turret shot coming down onto the Syndra as well. The Unleashed Power, not quite enough to finish off that kill. The one more Dark Sphere was just about, but Baboon will survive that one. Both mid laners trading ultimates.
I mean, sometimes it's just not meant to be. I mean, Syndra still missing some of the passive stacks. If I just check, 101, I think that was just procced. So it would have been a kill, and now we're very soon to get the execute.
Oh,
Oh,
that's 2
God.
items completed for Burger Flipper on this GP. Those 2 Qs gets magic down to 50% on this Olaf.
And it does not get any better. And yes, Olaf does have some life still and can sustain a little bit in the 1v1, but the minute you come to a team fight, there's not really any way for him to sustain. So one barrel chunks him out and majorly limits him. Is he going to go all in? No, he's not. Okay. I thought that was going to be a bit of a reach if the Aphelios went in there.
Oh, Unleash
my.
Power not available right
And
now,
he
but
tried
so
to
much
jump.
damage onto the Ahri there just from the Q-E combo.
Yeah, and forcing the aerial is really nice. It's going to be very pressuring for the Ahri, who's sat under turret. I mean, Maokai's obviously come to cover, and they're going to spot Zac now, so she'll probably just base and give the tier 1 turret, I have to imagine. Maybe, okay, never mind. Going to contest
Isaac
it.
couldn't
but-
come over here to defend at least.
Yeah,
Actually,
but
are you going to
they
stick
are
around
moving
as
people.
well?
Yeah, so, oh, you're right. It's not looking like it's going to hit, though. Oh, no,
Oh,
it does.
Nature's Grasp is going to connect onto the Syndra, and it's going to be the flash for the Twisted Advance as well. The Bramble Smash to get the Syndra back towards the Ahri, and that should be the kill. The Unleashed Power not enough because the Wild Growth is also there, and a very nice rotation from Underworld Empire to punish the mid laner. Pokerevatch and Simply Magic now also in the area, but they're just a little bit too late to the party.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a very close exchange. Once again, Syndra with a few more stacks would have just flat executed Diary, which is worrying to think about. That's the
Like,
point
actually,
of the game
if
we're
it
getting
wasn't-
to.
Actually, if it wasn't for the Wild Growth also, it would have been the execute,
True.
right?
Which says quite a lot. And she's only just now building into penetration. We're going towards the Void Staff on Syndra, which I think is fine. You expect the enemy team to be able to get access to magic resist, so that's really fine. Tier 1 turret will go, and Polymorph are just going straight for the Baron. They're calling them on it. They're saying, right, the
This is a
Maokai
call.
ult is not up. We're going to go Baron. I mean, there's no vision on
Indeed.
it. I think they're going to... I mean, it's not going the fastest, but the response
Probably
from
fast
UWE
enough.
is
I mean, Isaac
not
is in the
here.
area, but not
They don't
moving
know.
over here yet. Yeah, you're absolutely
only
right,
just
Kat. They
seen
just
it.
don't know, and it's going to be the T1 Baron taken away by Polymorphed.
I mean, I love it. I mean, I wonder what their vision control was, like what they were actually aware of, whether they'd sweeped it before just now. The last that I saw, UWE used the vision cone and spotted Zac. But yeah, just not enough wards in the river. Maybe they were tunnel visioning on the Drake that was coming up after that fight. It's a possibility. But now you've got Baron on the side of Polymorphed, and they're going to be able to secure the push. They're going to be able to be there first, and that's possibly going to be their second Drake.
Right. Yeah, I mean, obviously, it would be Ocean's sole point for UWE if they can get it, but like you say, you know, with the Baron on the side of Polymorph now, going to be really, really tough for the side of UWE to get in here to even try and contest this one.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have Olaf go into the bot, push. Obviously, Aphelios needs to rotate his weapons a bit, but I have to imagine once he swaps purple out, he'll be in a good state to fight. They have left their top side completely unanswered, though, and Irie's hovering.
It's
I'm not
true.
sure if they know. They're
This is
maybe going to end up
fantastic.
losing a tier 2. There's no TP, so there's no response.
That's right, yeah. And this is, I think, a great
They're
call
not
from
decent.
Underworld Empire because they recognize that they're not in a position to contest the Drake, so they just went straight for that cross map. You know, we actually saw the entire top side for UWE rotate, towards that top lane to actually secure that tier 2 turret. So at least they do manage to get something in exchange for that Drake going over.
Definitely. And it's gold on GP, who right now is probably your primary carry, to be completely honest. He's up quite a lot of gold on the Olaf. He's at 3.5 items currently. And while the synergy is not exactly there with Lulu, if Maokai or Irie locks down a target, GP's going to blow him up.
Yeah, that is something that he is very, very good at.
We're pulling the trigger.
Nature's Grasp is going to come out now. Does get the lockdown onto the Thresh. Here comes Pokerevatch for the counter engage. Zac creating some space in the middle of this team fight with the left pass, running out of HP, but will have the Dark Passage to get towards safety. Here comes Baboon over the wall. The Olaf will have to flash away from the Charm Nano 2 as well for a little bit of a slow, and it's going to be the side of Polymorph looking for the disengage.
Up, though.
But a nice scatter. Caleb forced to flash away from that Dark Sphere. Just a little bit more damage is all they need onto the Sivir, and it's going to be the Maokai sacrificing himself to allow the rest of the team to escape away safely. A very, very close fight here in the mid lane. The Polymorphs just barely come out ahead. A nice barrel chain. Gets Fangirl pretty low now as well.
I mean, it's neck and neck. It's coming down to who has flash and who doesn't. Both teams are just non-stop fighting. They're not willing to back down. And in this case, the biggest difference maker was Apto Fangirl had the flash. He was able to come in at the end of the fight, flash over the wall, and clean it up, whereas Baboon did not.
Is something that he is very, very good at.
We're pulling the trigger.
The
Nice
Grasp is going to come out now. Does get the lockdown onto the Thresh.
Okay,
Here comes
so I like
for
the turn straight away onto the
Zac
Zac.
creating some space in the middle of this
UWE
team.
have identified yet we can melt tanks. Let's focus this target out.
Over the wall. The Olaf will have to flash away from the Charmander too as well for a little bit of a slow.
Here is where things get a bit worrying because the team is scattered. Some of them want to run forward. Some of them can't.
More damage is all they need on the Sivir, and it's going to be Maokai sacrificing himself to allow the rest of the team to escape.
Dealing damage
is something that he is very, very good at.
They leave, I forget who it was who died, but they leave one member isolated. So
it was the Maokai going back in there.
So there you go.
Really enough space for the rest of the team.
Differences, but just barely edging out on top. If we look at power spikes, so Syndra is completely online now, 3 items. I'd be really afraid of that.
Yeah, full item up over the Ahri right now.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, potential to maybe not one-shot the Maokai, but you use your full combo, which, to be honest, doesn't have a particularly long cooldown. Maokai is not going to be able to play the game. And when that is your only tank, I mean, it's worrying. Especially if they're the ones to open up on the enemy team. I think it's going to be a struggle for Maokai to get in. So really, is UWE, you're counting on Polymorph coming into you, so you can use your engage tools and use your ultimates very carefully to kind of pick a fight that you want, rather than trying to go in and instantly getting blown up by, you know, Syndra or even just the Zac, who seems to be doing an unholy amount of damage every time I see the champion.
Definitely, yeah. It's a surprising amount of damage that come out from this Zac. Of course, Pokerivatch also going for that Demonic Embrace, as well as the Dark Seal. So a good amount of AP in the build here for Pokeri.
I mean, another important difference is Aphelios has opted into Gale Force IE, going Bloodthirst at third, which I think is fine. Some people will get very upset about the Gale Force buy, but Aphelios is the best user, really, of Gale Force in the game, and his team does often want to go forward, so I think it's quite nice. We've seen some really good ults from Pastico, so you know, maybe there is an opportunity where we get an Infernum ult into a Gale Force, into a really nice flashy play. Not saying it's super likely, but something to be aware of anyways, that Gale Force option is there, and now he has IE, he does hit. We're just basically waiting for LDR. Yeah,
100%. I mean, like you said, you know, that Bloodthirster, as you're just calling out, has been completed. Aphelios now also on 3 items, and, you know, the champion isn't known as 200 years for nothing, right? We all know what Aphelios is capable of in the right situation, so definitely something to keep our eyes on. But Calum also, on this Sivir, is in an extremely strong position as well, also on 3 items. Doesn't have the Infinity Edge, though.
No, opted in for Navori.
Okay, Baron is alive.
But this time, we have Vision. Yep. So
Cannon Barrage, though, comes out, and this time around, Underworld Empire are ready to fight for this one. Everfrost not going to find the mark, nor the charm. That's the hook onto the Ahri, who's getting burned down. Started this fight, but the Thresh also extremely low. He's going to land another Death Sentence before he goes down. Pokeri now into the passive. Simply Magic is on top of the Sivir. Is he going to be able to finish the job? The Lulu shielding and the speed boost is too much, and the Sivir picks up the double, and now it's only Fangirl and Mattia Masso who are left. They're going to have to vacate the area, and this time around, the Baron call for Polymorph backfires in a huge way. It's only Fangirl, and now it's nobody left for Polymorph. This Burger Flipper flashes forward to complete the ace, and now it's Underworld Empire that are pulling ahead.
What is happening in this game? I mean, so we've got to replay. I mean, I have an issue with the way that Polymorphed is moving on to this Baron, but they're not turning off of it.
You know what?
What you actually see is Aphelios is completely
comes
caught out. He doesn't want to go further
Empire are ready to fight for this one. Everfrost not going to find the mark. Nor the charm. That's the hook onto the Ahri, who's getting burned down. Started this fight, but the Thresh also is really low. He's going to land another Death Sentence before he goes down.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth mentioning, whereas Calum is just completely free hitting. Now, he does get
is he going to be able to finish the job? The Lulu shielding and the speed boost is too much, and the Sivir picks up the double, and now it's only Fangirl.
Fortunately, we have a Lulu. He's able to sustain it and kite it out, and you just see if, for whatever reason, Polymorphed don't get a chance to hit, where Syndra can't just, get a good free QE, and they're busy dealing with whatever spells it was, the Maokai and the GP ult. Kalem does more than enough damage at this point to burn through your Olaf, or, whatever kind of champions are there. So, what I need to see more of from Polymorphed is less of, trying to do objectives and letting the enemy team engage onto them. But actually turning, if they're going to come into us, let's back to front. Let's make sure our Felios is in a good spot, and we can actually hit as a team. We don't want these split fights where GP is dealing tons of damage, and Irie is just being annoying. Because she doesn't have to necessarily kill anyone, she just has to hold specific targets long enough to let everyone else do the killing.
Exactly right. Well, we'll see if the team fights can look a little bit more structured here for Polymorphed, if they stop going for these Barons on spawn, maybe.
I mean,
in the replay, of course.
It. Just do it slightly differently.
Right, yes, of course. But we did also see the side of Underworld Empire locking away that Ocean Soul point just about a minute ago. So next Dragon is going to be a possible Ocean Soul secure for the blue side here.
And they're going to have all of their flashes available if they can... I mean, obviously they have Baron, so they want to push, they want to utilize it a bit. But I would be very careful about opting into any fights. I would want to hold all of our sums. Let's just get to our breakpoints, and let's take one more good fight. And I think around objectives, generally their setup has been a little bit better. Obviously, there's been many back and forth fights. But, I mean, it really comes down to who can adapt the best at this point in the game. It's both teams have ways to win. They have different damage profiles, sure, but both teams have a way to win every single fight. So now we just need to see, right, in the last few fights, we've done this, it didn't go well. Or we made this mistake, we should have done this. How well can they adapt on the spot and fix whatever issues they've been having in the fights that they have not won, so that they win the most important fight, or at least the most important fight for UWE.
Yeah, for sure. We have lots of scaling on both sides. Like you said, both teams can fight. It's just a question of how these fights are getting set up. We have a couple of minutes until the next Dragon spawns. Baron buff has, of course, just worn off, and side of Underworld Empire weren't really able to get much with it, so it's going to come down to some more team fights, absolutely.
Which I think is completely okay. I wouldn't want to risk over-pushing at this point in the game. I think just take the Baron Gold, take the XP, funnel the levels that we want. So I want level 16 on Maokai, for example. I want level 16 on Zac, because that's another really big ultimate where, you're getting increased healing from the blobs, which makes a massive difference in some of the extended fights. So it's just take the time, get everyone onto their breakpoints, pick the best possible fight. So unless there's some sort of pick around Irie and Maokai, I don't expect there to be anything crazy. They are rolling out the Maokai ult to zone them off the bot turret. Possibly able to get that one. Yep. So that's a nice little outcome for the side of UWE. Obviously not game making, but getting rid of the tier 2 turret is just nice for push. And when it comes to setup around the objectives, you're able to control the jungle a lot easier. You can force them out further away. So yeah, definitely a strong net win. And it seems like they're making good movements on the map to get these sorts of advantages.
2 turrets up now is Underworld Empire.
Yeah.
About 5,000 gold in the lead. Oh, Baboon is just dead, though.
Yeah.
That is going to be a scatter landing, and level 18 Syndra means that you are just dead. If that does happen. I wonder if he could have killed him twice. Yeah. Oh, yeah, easily. Easily had enough damage to get through a couple of REHP bars there.
The Rabadons as well. He's definitely hitting. So,
and that Ahri is not going to be alive in time for the Dragon. She's going to be coming up in the fountain about 10 seconds after the Dragon spawns. Does have the teleport, but might not have the chance to join up with the squad, as we do see Polymorphed moving into the river from the mid lane, looking to secure vision control.
I mean, that's the most important thing. They no longer can hold the vision. I mean, GP's tucked in behind. If he manages to stay in these pockets, that's such a huge win.
They see him. Ooh. They see him. They land the death sentence, but they're not going to fully turn onto the gangplank. The Dragon is the target, and Maokai is not even going to go for the steal. So that is going to be 3-3 now in terms of Dragons. We're going the distance here, Cat, in this first one.
Okay, TP into the top lane. So potentially they're going to meet a Baron. I mean, Baron's not available, but they seem to want to fight over the
be
vision.
Very soon.
Oh, yeah.
5 seconds away. Everybody alive now, as you say. Baboon not having to expend the teleport. You know, didn't have time to make it to the dragon, but has been able to walk up here towards the top side to rejoin with the team. Thank you for pointing that out. This could be a very critical fight, and everybody having access to that summoner spell is going to be necessary, you know, for either side. That's going to be Pokrevatch potentially starting things out, flashing forward for the knockback from the stretchy strikes, and they're going to burst down the GP right at the start of this one. Polymorph in a great position to close out the team fight. It's going to be the Lulu taken down as well. Scatter the weak connects onto the Maokai. Thresh getting pretty low, and he will be taken down in exchange. And that's actually going to be a double kill over to Calum on this Sivir. And it looks like a great start of the fight for Polymorph, but they weren't able to get on top of Calum, and Sivir is able to carry it for UWE.
I mean, this game is becoming Apto Fangirl versus Calum.
100%.
I mean, I can't believe, though, Pastidco died without managing to use jungler spells. Yeah, I mean,
jungler for Polymorph.
At the very least, they can force Polymorph to come into them and aim to kill the Olaf.
Ragnarok is going to be up for Magic very soon. Baron getting burned down. Isaac has the smite. This should always go to the Maokai, and he will get it. Ragnarok for the side of the Olaf. He's looking to knock off these Baron buffs. He's not going to be able to make it happen. Calum just has too much damage with the LDR complete. He's able to shred through the Olaf health bar in time. And now Underworld Empire once again in the driver's seat.
Well, we're going to have a replay of all of that.
We're going to track Calum, I think, in this very critical fight,
and
everybody having access to that summoner spell is going to be necessary,
I saw Maokai on him,
for either side. That's going to be
Pokrevatch
potentially starting things out, flashing forward for the knockback from the stretchy strikes, and they're going to burst down the GP right at the start of this one. Polymorph in a great position to close out the team fight. It's going to be the Lulu taken down as well.
It must have been a barrel.
The Maokai Thresh getting pretty low, and he will
putting
be
the
taken down
Aphelios
in
into 4
exchange.
HP. I mean,
this is the issue when you
try to run into the UWE side. There's barrels, there's Irie Charms. Obviously, Sivir's very happy with it, so
yeah,
I understand.
Calum able to stay totally safe in that one.
Picking GP, I mean, if you have the opportunity, you have to take it, but it's still just so difficult to get a pick and get out. I mean, because not only do you have to kill the GP, you've also got to kill the Sivir at this point in the game. And you're looking
at the very
now
least, keep your Aphelios safe, right?
Yeah, and you've got a Sivir with GA and Aphelios as a stopwatch, so sure, that's something, but it's not going to be quite as much as Sivir with a Lulu. So yeah, next fight, we have to see this Aphelios be the difference maker. Apto Fangirl is having a great performance, hitting lots of good QEs in the team fights. We just need a little bit more damage to come out. Now, that's not necessarily Aphelios' fault, but as a team, we need to see them work better together to actually enable their carries, because it's not an easy game to hit and deal damage, as we might just have
grasp over the wall. Aphelios going to get locked up by this one. Isaac going to be able to go in with the Nature's Grasp, and Pastidco taken out at the beginning of the fight once again. Zach will quickly follow, and now already with the Baron in tow, it's going to be another double for Calum on the Sivir is really popping off now in this one. It's only the Olaf and the Thresh left to defend, and I think it may indeed be the Nexus going down here in game 1 for UWE. The mid inhibitor will fall. Still 35 seconds on the Aphelios and on the Zac with the minions pouring into the base. This looks like it will be game 1 for Underworld Empire.
They're going to take it, but they're going to get some kills first. Yes. Wow, what?
40 minutes. No Ocean Soul necessary in this one, as it turns out.
49 kills.
Oh, man.
A lot of action.
That was quite the game 1, no doubt about it. Lots of action, as you say. Lots of fights going both directions. You know, back and forth was this game for sure. But in the end, you know, Underworld Empire, I think you were favoring their composition as well, and they are able to pull it out here for this first one. Yeah,
I mean, the longer the game went, I think the easier it was going to be for them to play. I think both teams probably knew that. So the minute the game became very, I won't say sloppy, but messy and back and forth, things kind of started to skew in the favor of UWE. That's not to say that Polymorph can't pull off the fights. It's just very difficult, I think, to find the sort of fights that they needed. And I mean, they managed to find some really good ones. I think I mentioned it a lot in game, but the Syndra performance was quite outstanding. I think that was definitely something that we can look forward to more of. We'll play around in the next game. But I think for seeing this game 1, I want to see a bit more scaling, a bit more simplicity. I don't think they completely have to turn away from their style, but let's give ourselves more tools to, well, play the game, really.
Sure. To the surprise of no one, Caleb is going to be topping out those damage charts at just shy of 40,000 here in this 40-minute game. About 1,000 damage per minute. That's feeling pretty good for the UWE ADC. There's also quite a bit of damage done by the Gangplank and some really great setups from Isaac on this Maokai after being targeted so heavily in the drafting phase. If you had to choose one player, Kat, who do you think would be the POG on the side of UWE for game number 1?
It's a difficult one.
Sure, yeah.
I'm going to give it to Burger Flipper, I think, but I'm maybe a little bit biased. I mean, Caleb did a really good job. I can't take that away from him, and I don't think, without the Sivir pick, like standing up when it did, I don't think there's any chance they would have won. But at the same time, I think Burger Flipper's plays in the early game to not only get them quite a big lead, I think the ult were really massive in almost every fight. I don't think I saw many bad ults. I mean, the top lane was a complete skirmish, but them managing to, I think, just about come on top in all of the fights when you were counterpicked by an Olaf, I think is really, really good. So, yeah, but I mean, it's a tough one because Caleb definitely did have a standout performance. I mean, winning in the bot side, slowly just getting gold, staying calm, constantly looking for those angles to just deal as much damage as he could. Definitely stand out as well. But yeah, I think I'd just barely edge it out to Burger Flipper here. I mean, it'd be interesting to see what everyone else thinks.
Certainly, Kat. I like it. I like the vote. You know, I think you did hit on a couple of really important points there as well. You know, the fact that Burger Flipper was counterpicked, still able to come out with a lead, and pretty early on in the lane as well. You know, as soon as the Gangplank was able to complete that first item, that Essence Reaver, he immediately had started to put the pressure on onto Magic up there on that Olaf. So, absolutely, clearly a phenomenal Gangplank player is Burger Flipper, and was a big part in putting his team in a position to where Caleb could carry those fights later on in the game. So, makes a lot of sense. But guys, we are going to go to a short break before game 2. We went quite late in game 1 with a late start as well, so I hope nobody had any other plans tonight. We'll be getting into game 2 pretty shortly. Don't go anywhere. I'm back. What do you mean? What are you talking about?
Oh. What? What am I molding?
Are you molding?
I'm not molding about the game.
Why did you think we were molding?
What? No, I said,
I didn't get that.
like, I'm tired. What? Yeah, it's okay.
He's
Logic is bipolar. He did this last time. Yeah, it's just a lot of talking. Right. How are we feeling? We're going on?
Okay. Welcome back, everybody. We are getting ready to jump into our Game 2 draft. Our teams have swapped sides as the losers of Game 1, Polymorphed, have elected to move over to the blue side. Kat, what do you make of that call?
I mean, it's interesting. I really thought they were going to run it back and pick red side again. I think it works well for their style and their goals. Obviously, they've decided to mix it up. I'm not 100% where they want to go with this. Potentially, they want a power pick, and they're like, right, well, let's just go blue side and get it. It's hard to say.
What power pick do you think they might be looking towards?
I mean, I need to remind myself of the last draft, because I believe Jinx and Zeri got banned out. So what was still open? Gragas was open. I mean, another question that I'll put out there is they might not opt into banning all of the junglers that they banned, which might mean
that's true.
More of those are open. They might actually pick some of that away for themselves. So I'm not 100%. I mean, I do not hate what they did last game. I think they obviously showed signs of life. in mid lane, in top lane, even in bot lane. I just think
for sure.
some of the picks around it need to be changed. So yeah, I wouldn't go like full send. I would just like, we're on blue side now. We don't have to go as hard for the counter pick. So let's get an early flex, whether that's Zac, that's Gragas, whatever we like. Let's try and build up a stronger overall composition. So we are getting into draft.
Yeah, I definitely agree that the banning out Isaac strategy didn't necessarily seem like it was all that successful. So I think it would make sense
GP,
to do it just
I do not want to see again. I think GP as a champion is too strong. And for the point that it was picked in the draft, it gave way too much. Like, it was good against all of Polymorph's champs. I would like to see that removed.
Yeah, clearly, obviously, a really big comfort pick for Burger Flipper up there as well.
Definitely. And I mean, Apto Fangirl has shown he's not too bothered about his own champs or the enemy mid laners' champs. Like, we're happy to prioritize jungle champions, top lane champions. So I think we just need to ban out, ideally, Burger Flipper's champs, maybe a few of the bot lane picks, and just let Apto Fangirl play whatever champ he wants against whatever champion. He'll be happy, he'll do well. So you can see already, one big adaptation, the Sivir is gone. So I'm imagining that UWE is going to end up banning Jinx. So then the question would be, what about Xayah? And I forget what the third ban was. So I mean, whether this is a GP or not will be very telling.
Indeed, yes. GP, Jinx, Gragas, all still open. Actually going to be the Lulu that does get banned away. So clearly, polymorphed, I would say most likely looking to go with an AD here on B1. It is going to be the Jinx that does get banned away from Underworld Empire, like you were calling for.
Yeah, it could be a Xayah here. I mean, it depends really on the direction they want to go. For a B1, you want something flexible. I don't think Xayah is actually a good B1. It's just something that people do. Viego is a lock-in. I mean,
not the most flexible necessarily.
No. Potentially could be a power pick for the jungler. I'm not 100%. I mean, it's a power move for sure after the first game. It's definitely a different direction. Now we have to build around the Viego, the hyper carry getting resets, playing this disengagey comp, as UWE seem to be going straight for the Xayah Rakan.
Oh, yeah, the lovers duo in the bottom lane there. I do have a little bit of stats for us here, Kat. So Viego is second most played for Palprivatch. 67 games this season, but only a 42% win rate.
Interesting, okay. But something he's comfortable on nonetheless. I wonder if we'll see a Senna Cho'Gath come out here as an answer.
Ooh, that would be fun.
I mean, Rakan as a laner now is very, very strong. A lot of people think the healing is overtuned in his kit. So it's harder to punish him, but I still think Senna and Cho'Gath do very well into it. They start to naturally outrange Xayah. So yeah, we see the Senna.
There it is.
I like this a lot.
You called it.
Yeah. I mean, Cho'Gath hitting a single Q basically just forces instant flash out, or he will just walk up silence and you are dead. So definitely a very deadly combo, but also quite safe. I wonder what the jungle response will be. Could be a Sejuani. Yeah, Sejuani I quite like. So right now, we have quite a disengagey pick comp for UWE. They're not forced to go all-in dive at the minute. Rakan and Sejuani can kind of pivot a bit.
Sure.
The question now is, what direction are we going to go with our solo lanes? How are we going to attack this fairly high-range tanky comp from Polymorphed, where they ideally just want to live, survive? As UWE, you want to stop them getting these resets, potentially dive the Senna. Wouldn't surprise me if we saw a bit of a more aggressive mid lane, like a LeBlanc. I mean, we'll see what the bans are, but if you were going to play it, I think this would be the game to play it. Threaten the Viego, threaten the Senna, stop them from free hitting and potentially getting resets against your team.
Obviously, we do know that Fangirl can play the LeBlanc as well, and that can also be pretty powerful with the Viego to try and burst people down and actually find that first reset for Pokrivatch. So the LeBlanc, I think, definitely a pick to watch here. But, with the Sejuani, of course, generally speaking, she does really enjoy having melee champions in those solo lanes. So we'll have to see if maybe that is more the direction that UWE are going to be looking for. We do have a couple of top lane bans in the Aatrox and the Singed, and looks like maybe some sort of visual bug there for that other ban on Polymorph. Not quite sure.
I think it was a no ban. I'm not 100% if there was something going on there. I mean, Singed ban always tells me they want to pick Ornn, but not 100%. UWE possibly just going to blind a mid lane mage.
Ooh.
Oh. Well, this is quite the gauntlet.
An aggressive choice for sure, yeah.
I mean,
gauntlet thrown indeed.
You show what your comp theme is going to be. We're going to be attack the enemy backline. We're going into the dive, like composition, or like theme, I should say, rather. One thing to note is they chose to ban Syndra rather than GP.
They did. Yeah.
So
feeling like Syndra was more of a problem.
Yeah, so well, I've just realized we're swapping it over, so...
Yeah, so the Gangplank of the Pirates can be swapping sides. Absolutely right.
Which, of course, even though Burger Flipper had such a good performance, it kind of skipped my mind. It is actually a Simply Magic champion. Zoe as well, I think, would be quite an Apto Fangirl champion. We're finally getting the LeBlanc.
The LeBlanc, yes indeed. This is, as we mentioned already, definitely a comfort pick for Fangirl, and I do think it feels pretty powerful with the Viego as well.
Yep, I mean, I think Akali hates to play versus LeBlanc. I think it's very annoying. She's very good at poking you down. Very hard to get on top of her. Definitely neutralizes a lot of what you want to do. Be interesting to see what the response is to GP.
Oh,
Kale.
Wow.
Okay. So this was actually one of the OG counters to GP, right? You pick Kale.
Okay, yeah.
You just get XP. I mean, the first few levels are horrendous, but you quickly come online and you can farm ways. You can actually pressure the GP. I mean, I like it, but I will say, it's a hard to execute comp for UWE.
Sure, definitely, yeah.
After the nature of last game, I think Polymorphed have a much easier time. What their champs want to do is very simple. Don't die, Cho'Gath, walk. And not only that, but they also have tools in the early game. They have got the LeBlanc and the Viego to kind of disrupt the enemy team.
They have a lot of burst and a surprising amount of range, I feel like, on Polymorphed.
Which is not really what you want when you're early picking the Sire Rakan, because they hate to play against range. So I am favoring the Polymorph draft a bit, but I can also see why UWE have picked some of the champions that they have. So it's all going to come down to, okay, well, is this Kale actually going to get to be a prominent threat in this game? Can she handle the range of, Senna, GP? Will she get a chance to hit? Or is the game going to fall apart for them in the mid-game stage? And, they can't deal with the Cho'Gath, they can't deal with the GP, etc. So, I mean, if Akali can get enabled, get into this backline and delete the Senna, suddenly you have a bit of a problem for Polymorph. It's a lot harder to deal with this Xayah, who is potentially going to be, quite strong. I mean, Kalen's had a good performance so far and in his series before, so you've got to be prepared to deal with a strong Xayah in these fights. And if there's no Senna, I mean, I don't know who's really reaching or getting on top of the Xayah.
In that last series for UWE, it was the Sivir in Game 2 and the Xayah in Game 3 that Calum did pilot to guide the team towards that victory. See if they're able to do it again. The Kale on R5, definitely a really interesting choice. As we've already seen, Burger Flipper extremely proficient on the Gangplank, so we have to imagine that he knows how to play against it as well. But as you already mentioned, it is definitely, the composition for UWE feels much more technical, much more difficult to execute on than what we did see from them in game number 1. So I think this will be a really interesting test. If UWE can pull away the 2-0 here, then that sets up for a very, very exciting grand finals.
Definitely. I mean, I wouldn't expect either team to necessarily go 2-0 over Polymorphed.
Right.
And I don't think it's necessarily telling of the strength of both teams. I think Polymorphed is definitely putting up a fight, and it's got a good shot to fight their way back into the series, but it would definitely be a big win for UWE. I mean, coming back to face Roof Tsunami, and the way that they've done it is honestly quite incredible. So
Mm-hmm.
no matter who wins this game, whether we go to another game or not, for both teams, I mean, it's quite spectacular. I'm really looking forward to see who actually goes on to the finals. I mean, both teams have done quite amazing up until now in their own rights.
100%. Yeah. UWE have been quite vocal about how badly they want that rematch against Reef's Tsunami. We'll see if they're going to be able to secure the 2-0 and punch that ticket straight into the grand finals, or if Polymorphed, with I think what we agree is a stronger draft this time around, are going to be able to tie up the match at 1-1. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with the lower bracket final here in Division 1. Welcome back to the Rift, my friends, for Game 2 between Polymorphed and Underworld Empire. Again, Polymorphed on the blue this time around. UWE moving over to the red. And this time, I think once again, here, Kat, we should not expect very much to happen at the level 1 mark.
Nope. I mean, okay, so I've got some quick comments for you.
Okay.
Cho'Gath, Sapphire Crystal. I'm
true.
not 100% sure about this one. I mean, he's obviously going to be playing mostly with his Q, which I think is fine. And Cho'Gath has good mana regen because of his passive. But Sapphire Crystal buy is interesting. I mean, potentially showing as well that he's going to go into an AP build rather than like a full tank, but interesting. I really like that Senna has opted into Fleet Footwork rather than anything else. And I do hope that it's not Lethality Senna.
Oh.
I would be a big fan of going more into the crit items and building things like Bloodthirster, make yourself really tanky. I think it's hard to deal with. So be interesting to see what
I forgot about that tank Senna build was a thing for a while, right? What was that build again?
Hard steel and something of I mean,
Oh god.
I don't buy into it, but possibly a thing.
Possibly.
So
I mean,
yeah,
there
we'll
is
see.
some assassination potential, right, with the Akali in the mid lane. So maybe
Definitely.
some extra HP would be useful for the Senna. But and the other thing as well is, you know, I do agree that the on-hit build feels the strongest for Senna, but the only person that Mattia is necessarily going to have the opportunity to hit is like the Sejuani. If you're trying to like stand and hit somebody like Akali or Kale, you know, that can be pretty dangerous for someone like Senna.
I mean, I'm a big fan of Kraken BT. I think it's a 2-item pair. If you're ever in any sort of danger, it's really nice. Keeps you alive. It's good damage scaling. We can already see once again lots of small trades. The Kale lane is basically going as I expected. Kale can just leverage her attack speed to get pushed on the wave, and GP struggles a little bit to keep up. Can start to poke out. Level 2 to 3, you know, can start to stack up the barrels, but early on, Kale just wants to leverage the push, keep herself healthy.
Pushing the bot lane as well here for UWE. Pushing mid, though, for Fangirl on the LeBlanc, which I think we're not really necessarily surprised by either one of those things. And we do also have a mirrored clears for our junglers. So Viego on this bottom side right now could look for a play onto this bot lane, but they're going to get the wave in, and Syra Khan going to be able to back off pretty comfortably. Sejuani, meanwhile.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bad trade, though. I don't think they can actually collapse on LeBlanc.
Still has distortion here, so going to be fine.
Yeah. So even though they force him out, it should still just be a walk into bot scuttle. I'm not sure. Viego is actually level 4. He's done a full clear, so true. Sejuani should just back away in base now. Done a bit of a weird clear, actually. 16 CS.
The bot lane does have priority. They're coming up, but Isaac is getting chunked down at the start of this one. Ooh, the grand entrance is denied there by the root from the Senna. Palkori Vatch already also getting chunked out a little bit, though. Apto Fangirl is moving over, but so is the Akali. Baboon also waiting in the wings. Now they're trying to get onto the Cho'Gath. They're trying to collapse onto the isolated Pasted Co down here, but he will flash away and stay alive. Now it's going to be Rakan that's rooted up. The knockup as well. The rupture really nice onto 2. That is going to be the first blood for Fangirl and a reset for Palkori, but the return kill does come through, and now it's going to be Isaac who is running out of HP. Fangirl needing one more auto attack will find it. Now the flash forward from Mattia gets the root, the shroud utilized by Baboon to try and create some space. We'll have to use the flash as well to get away to safety, and that is 2 kills for Fangirl on the LeBlanc.
Not what you wanted to see. I think he's going to go for 3, actually.
Oh, I think he might have 3. Oh, it's going to be Baboon going back in with the shuriken, but that's straight into a chain, and he does end up giving over number 3.
Very nice. I mean, it was a little bit close up until the point he managed to secure distance, as we might have
we don't even have time to talk about it. We got an engage in the bot lane now as well. It's going to be the Rupture and the Silence onto the Xayah, the Piercing Darkness from Mattia, and they just shut down. That's the power of the Senna Cho'Gath lane, but here comes Isaac, and no summoners for either one of these bot laners. Pasted has virtually no mana now as well, so this is going to be Rakan and Sejuani looking to clean up. Very nice grand entrance from Jesse onto 2, and they're going to be able to get the Frostbite as well. There is the lockdown onto Maddie. And that is going to be another kill going over to Underworld Empire.
Wow. Well, it's what you wanted if you were UWE. You're punishing the Senna Cho early on while you still have time to actually kill them. Or chain barely going wide. That could have been a really nice trade for Fangirl. Struggling a little bit to keep up with the pace of the game. But as we can see, Akali is bullying very hard.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
already has 15 kills chapter
and 3 kills. Yeah, and that's Akali without TP, by the way. So, suffering, for sure. It does look like Viego's going to move in and try and get the dragon using the priority in mid, which is understandable. I mean, it's a 2-level difference at the minute. Okay, up to 1 now, but definitely feeling the pain there. I mean, we'll just have to wait and see how well Baboon can kind of mitigate the damage and the bleeding. Is they actually
Isaac into the dragon pit, looking for the steal, not going to find it though. Smite is good from Palkori Vatch, and now Isaac is going to get chained up by Fangirl, who picks up number 4. Oh, the only regret for the LeBlanc is she doesn't have the Dark Seal just yet.
There is a collapse
potential play as well into the bottom lane as Caleb and Jesse had just gone forward aggressively to look for Pasted Co. But they shouldn't have done so. They knew that Polymorphed were in the area. They had just taken the Dragon, and Saya Rakan not respecting that potential collapse of Fangirl now. Didn't get the last hit this time, but will pick up the assist.
Oh, he can go for a kill here. He can kill.
Gangplank, where are you going, buddy? Magic is really in some trouble here. He has the Q to get a little bit of return damage onto the Kale, but the Divine Judgment is available for Burger Flipper as well. And this is always going to be a kill as Burger Flipper picks up number 1.
I mean, that was a little bit of a strange solo kill. I'm not sure the events leading up to it or how GP got in the situation he was, but as you can see, Kale is not struggling as much as you would maybe think she is. And now that she has her ulti as well, she starts to get a lot more control. So we're kind of counting on Viego to pressure the Kale, get rid of the ult, get rid of, punish the flashless Kale as much as we possibly can. But, I mean, I feel like UWE are just doing lots of things and getting punished for it, which is not ideal when you consider that they have strong dive champs. Maybe not strong early game champs, but strong dive champs that need to have gold when they go in to secure these kills. And you're looking at, Nekali, who is very much on the back foot. Xayah, who I won't say is behind, but has definitely been put a little bit behind, only on the 40 CS from all the fighting. So yeah, I mean, it's about a 2 and a bit gold lead, 2.5.
100%
so we'll have to see if it balloons. But yeah,
it definitely
going in Polymorph's favor so far.
Yes, it definitely does feel like Underworld Empire are not necessarily playing to the strengths of the composition right now. They shouldn't really be opting into these fights so early when, as you say, they don't have their items yet on these champions that do rely so heavily on, having those items completed, on having that gold income before they look for the fights.
Yeah, I mean, ultimates are so important for all 5 of their champions, but...
So it is good, I guess, in that spirit that they do not contest for the Rift Herald, because that was just secured by Pokerivech's Viego. So both early neutrals will go over to Polymorphed, but, with these scaling compositions, still lots of League of Legends to play.
Definitely. Possibly 8 Drakes worth, 7 Drakes, we'll see.
Oh, that's going to be Burger Flipper in trouble. Has the Divine Judgment looking to trade back at least onto Simply Magic, but the oranges to remove the scurvy are going to be enough to keep him alive, and Burger Flipper is going to get taken down. Fangirl also getting shut down in the mid lane, as that was Isaac flashing over the wall to secure the last hit.
Fight! Yeah, I mean
that's a huge shutdown now.
It's a 1-for-1, but momentum probably favors UWE here. I mean, okay, so there is the Herald. I forgot about that. So that'll actually swing it more towards Polymorph's side.
No teleport for Burger Flipper to get back up here. This entire turret is actually just gone, I think.
Yeah, they can take it. So I'm not sure about this, though. Do you really want to take the tier 1 for Kale? I mean, if they can punish her and kill her on tier 2, I think it's good. But if she's able to threaten a freeze and just farm up quietly now, I mean, that could come to bite them.
Yeah. We'll see. Kale, obviously, as you say, is not necessarily the most upset about just having that wave in potentially a safer position.
I've noticed she's going AD. Or at least I'll assume she's going AD from the Vamp Scepter. I mean, it could be a little bit of sustain, and she might just sit on it, but not 100% sure. We'll see. Q does land. It was a really good Q.
Blind Q, actually, in fact, from Pasted Go. That's going to force the Feather Storm out. The Blade Caller going to do a little bit of work here, but it's used while the exhaust is still on for Calum. Looking to take down this Xayah. Already utilized the flash as well. One more auto attack is needed, and Mattia going to flash for it. Lock down that kill. Really nice from the bot lane of Polymorph to send a Cho'Gath strike again.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly like I said. You land a Q from Cho'Gath, and that is it. I mean, in this case, he was able to close the distance and get a nice early Everfrost. Rather than, Flash Silence or something of that nature. So we have an all-in in the mid lane.
Going to be Baboon looking for something in the mid lane, but also in the bot lane. Yeah, that's Isaac. A little bit overextended. Going to get exposed to that move from Pokerivech as the Viego comes in.
The flash.
Indeed.
So, once again, back and forth. We are going to get the Drake for the side of Polymorph, though. So this is really nice. We know there's no Cloud Drake in the pool, so no Cloud Soul. And, I mean, 12 minutes, 2 Drakes is really nice. So we're setting ourselves up to get a very easy soul point as we might have a find on the
up a little bit.
I mean, he does have flash, but
yeah,
is it just
looking like
damage?
a very low HP. Akali is going to expend the flash, and Fangirl not quite having the distortion off cooldown in time.
Hey.
Oh, that's it. Glacial Prison expended from Isaac, just saying, get away from my mid laner.
What I wanted to say was they do have a Cho'Gath who can quite easily feast, steal drakes, control the drakes, so getting early drakes is always really nice. We do get the ghost out of Kale.
So, Divine Judgment is available for Burger Flipper. Cannon Barrage obviously already utilized by Magic.
Yeah, and Flash on both. I mean, it's hard for Kale to kill here, but I mean, getting the ult out, it's not too bad. I mean, it hurts to not have your ghost, sure, but you should be able to just safely walk away, catch this wave in front of your tier 2 base, come back. You're pretty happy with that trade?
Definitely. It seems like a pretty even trade. And the Cannon Barrage, especially at rank 1, is quite a long cooldown as well. So yeah. I think the Kale feeling pretty good about that trade.
Okay, so we can see Viego's hovering. There's potential to get a kill here. It's not the easiest to find the setup. If Viego's
very low mana, though, we're going to have someone breaking out in the bot lane, actually. That's the charm and the knock-up and the shutdown onto Mattia, as Calum on the Xayah critically is the one to pick it up.
I mean, this is one of the weaknesses of the Senna. Currently, you know, Senna with the support item is responsible for a lot of the wards and a lot of the vision control, but trying to step out into the river on her own when a jungler wasn't covering, was on the top side, and just gets stat checked for it. So it's not going to be a major loss. It's not like there's an objective up or something to move around, but they definitely need to be aware of it and be cautious. Like, right, we need vision. Absolutely. This is our weak side. You know, we have a Senna. We need to kind of cover her and move around her.
Yeah, when you have Senna in the composition, you're quite right. It does kind of require that you play around her, that you defend her, and allow her to play it at the range that she wants to play at. So we are definitely going to have to track that for Polymorphed as we progress in this game. They are in a pretty good position right now. You know, they're actually up quite a bit of gold, a little over 4,000, I believe. There.
When did that happen? I mean, it must be mostly the top lane play, but...
Yeah, quite a big CS lead up there in the top lane, and obviously Gangplank with the additional gold generation from the passive as well is really, you know, CS leads in the jungle and mid positions also, actually, for Polymorphed.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big deal for sure. You're going to have a very nicely accelerated GP, and a Viego that is pretty strong. I mean, Viego, I think, is probably the champion to watch in this early to mid-game stage. Because while he's not going to have the... we might have a find in the bot lane.
Calum ghosting. Gale forcing forward. Dodge was out on the Rupture. Paceyco has a blast going. Don't think it's going to save him. Because the flying Cho'Gath will get shot out of the sky by the feathers. Calum up to 3 kills now.
So that's what happened to the dinosaurs. Right, well...
And yeah, we just learned.
We do have a contest from the looks of it. Sejuani is moving in. I mean, Kale's not so okay. They're scrapping that idea. They're saying, right, okay, we got to kill in the bot lane. Whatever.
Another neutral given over.
Yeah, I imagine Polymorphed is going to try and use this to break the mid turret. We might have a find. Yep, chain hits.
Burger Flipper going to get chained up. That is the root coming through. Magic with the Q. That's going to be the Divine Judgment forced out pretty early. Flash available for the kill. Going to flash into the brush. Going to try and deny vision. Fangirl going to get frozen now. Oh, but it's only the clone. The real LeBlanc is still alive. She is on her way out. And Magic actually able to turn that one around onto the Rakan. The burst enough from the Gangplank. But now Magic is going to get locked up by the Frostbite. And that's a kill back over to Burger Flipper.
Ooh. Can we have one fight that's not back and forth? No, I'm joking. I'm loving it.
With these teams, I don't think so.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it. Oh, yeah, we keep going.
Yeah, we do indeed. We fight on, as it were. Isaac getting chunked out very, very severely. They're gonna go ahead and pick up the turret aggro there. Sejuani absolutely gonna be going down here. And Burger Flipper, no ultimate, trying to trade back, not gonna be able to do it as Mattia is able to lock down that Kale. And for the side of Underworld Empire, a little bit over aggressive there in the top lane.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not completely against it. I understand why they were looking. I mean, Isaac has flash. If he instantly pulls the trigger, he can try and go on Senna. I mean, obviously, in this case, we know Senna has flash.
The turret, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a good play, but I can see what they were looking for. The issue is, because he did not pull the trigger instantly, or he didn't just leave, he's left too far up. The Senna's able to throw W, and suddenly there's no way of closing the distance. You basically force Kale to come in with you, and now you're both dead. So you would kind of end up with the worst outcome by doing nothing. But never mind, we move on to the Drake.
On to the next fight we go. Will be Infernal Soul Point for the side of Polymorphed if they can pick it up. And they do have the Feast for Pasico as well as the Smite.
Oh,
that's actually going to be the Rupture onto the Zaya. Featherstorm forced out pretty early. Gale forced to reposition. The Blade Caller is good on the Valkyrie. That's a lot of damage down. It's going to be the Sentinel's the first kill of this fight. It's Akali. It's Baboon on the Akali, able to secure the double kill, looking to clean up. And this one is going to be the root onto Magic as well. And it's going to be 3 kills in the team fight as Underworld Empire make it happen. Looking for number 4 now as well. Pasico still having the Feast, but I don't know if he's going to find the snack that he's looking for, as the Glacial Prison is nailed from long range for Isaac. And that is going to be 4 for 1, I should say, in the team fight, as Fangirl does manage to get one back on the side.
Yes, that was toxic from Isaac. The long-range snipe. Like, was he looking to take the kill? I don't know, but, you know, very good aim from him. We have got a replay coming up.
Let's take a look. How did it all fall apart for Polymorphed?
Right. So yeah, it's a really good initial start onto Kalem. The Everfrost slight slow into the queue. I really like that. Akali instantly onto Senna. I mean, look where all of Polymorphed are. They're all funneling into this choke, and Senna's just wandering around like a lost lamb. She's got no champions to peel for her. They're not fighting in a back to front. And suddenly, Senna's like, well, I've got to run away from the Akali, but where are you going? You're just running into the meat grinder that is Kale and Sejuani. So yeah, definitely that's the point where it fell apart. I think the way that they approached the fight, maybe not the best. It's hard to blame them because I think they have a very fed LeBlanc and a pretty fed GP. So their solo laners are a big source of power. I just think they got a little bit too eager.
Look at that damage. Baboon actually wants it, but still going to get locked down by the chains. Has the R2, the perfect execution. Almost enough. Rocket Belt forward, and Fangirl's flashing away. Now trying to stay alive. Baboon just needing a little bit more. Can't quite get into range as Fangirl's actually going to go back to the clone location. Shuriken to get away from that chain. Cannon Barrage a little bit baited out there. Magic using it, not really connecting onto anybody, but at least it has created enough space, it looks like, for Fangirl to make it out towards safety. But now Burger Flipper is aware that the Gangplank doesn't have access to the ulti anymore and can start to play a little bit more aggressive.
And that was a crazy 1v1. It was very tight. Akali missing the Q straight out of Shuriken Flip. I think she just barely missed lethal because of it. But then dodging out the chain from Fango. I mean, back and forth. Definitely, I mean, it's nice to see that even with the item disparity, Baboon is still looking to take these fights, be proactive. As
Magic looking for it, doesn't care about the lack of ultimate. Maybe he should care because Divine Judgment is available for the Kale, but he has his mid laner here, and Fangirl will be able to make that yet another 1-for-1. It's back and forth again, Kat.
Yeah, I mean, Blade of the Ruin King on Kale.
Once again, Kat, we're still fighting as Baboon is going to go into the Twilight Shroud. Going to get rooted up, though, by the Senna. Still, though, now the quickness pop for Jesse. Going to find the Charm onto 3, then knock up the Grand Entrance onto 3. And now Kalen's in position to follow up the Featherstorm. The Blade Caller going to come through now as well. The Lovers duo looking to clean up in the top lane team fight. It's 3 for 2 overall, Underworld Empire.
I had my doubts when they started running in there. I thought, whoa, if they're not quick to pull this off, they might just get turned on, but there was a beautiful play from the Lovers duo, finding one quick route into another, plenty of damage thrown out. I like the confidence coming out from them. Kalem is always willing to step forward, deal as much damage as he can. I mean, it's just looking really good when Zaya can actually hit and deal damage. Akali is actually managing to access the backline. Obviously in this fight she didn't as much, it was more the one before. But the fights are looking... I say that.
Kalem didn't have ult, has to flash there.
Fine, that could end up... I mean, obviously the Drake's gone and that won't be a problem, but... Oh, nice barrel. I mean, I don't have a chance to talk. It's just non-stop.
Cannon Barrage has come back. Yeah, sorry about that, Kat, but yes, indeed, we are looking at another fight here. Here comes the Viego, but Sejuani also here. Arctic Skull predicting the continued chase there for Valkyrie, back as both junglers kind of going wide.
Okay, so instantly onto the Baron, which I don't think is a bad call. We know that Kale has no DP. I mean, they have Feast, so objective control is really strong, and they know Kale cannot come. She's level 13, she can't push. Are they going to try and flip it? Let's see if Isaac will go in.
As a Blast Cone and Smite and Flash, but not able to get into the pit in time, and the Feast does come through from the Cho'Gath, and now the Sejuani is also going to get cleaned up, so nicely executed there by Polymorphed around the Baron.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a really nice call overall. I think if Kayle was higher level, you'd have to be more worried. But at this point in the game, she's not that much of a split push threat that you're gone for a minute and your base is gone. And obviously, utilizing the feast is something that I love. I think this is where you're at your strongest, when you force the enemy team to either come into you or just give you the objective. Flipping it is not really an option. I appreciate that Isaac tried, but I'm going to have a little look. Let's see. So currently, Cho'Gath is 1447 true damage. So
can't outsmite that.
Very difficult, especially for a Sejuani who doesn't really have an easy way to damage large minions. So yeah.
Yeah, true. Yeah, no really executes available in the Sejuani kit.
Already back up for this Drake, so it looks like UWE want to contest, but they're not quite in position yet. Let's see if they can find the center.
They kind of need to go for the fight. It's so hard to just go for the objective with the Cho'Gath there, like you're saying, and Fangirl over the wall, almost just 100-0ing the Kayle there.
Yeah, I mean, LeBlanc is building towards a Rabadon now, but 2 items definitely dealing damage. I mean, Kayle is actually probably one of your more tanky members at the minute, so there is a Wit's End completed, so yeah, definitely not feeling the best, but we're still powering on towards that level 16. It's just a question of, will Polymorph let them get there?
That is indeed the question, and the Kayle still pretty far out. Only level 13 right now. Gonna need quite a bit more time. Probably, you know, looking to maybe even 8 to 10 minutes for this Kayle. And Infernal Soul obviously going to be a possibility for the side of Underworld Empire, or rather for the side of Polymorphed well before then.
Well, we have a little bit of time. Let's see if we can get a calm period.
Yeah, you have time to talk now.
Awesome. I love talking. I'm sorry. So, things to consider. The gold lead is actually not that overwhelmingly massive. It is a 4K lead. It's definitely overcomeable, but we need to see a good early fight. We need to see Rakan getting a good engage, and we pick apart the center, and then we can hopefully just play in that 5v4 or even just the 4v4 a bit easier. The one thing we don't want is them to be able to push and then get the objective control with the Cho'Gath, because when we're trying to walk into Cho'Gath queues and the sort, very difficult. So ideally we want good vision, and then we can set up a pick. Now right now that is very difficult. So we've got Kayle kind of chilling. She will make it out unscathed, so that's nice. But because Polymorphed have Baron, it's going to be a struggle to get any sort of early vision out in the next 2 minutes. Or maybe even just a minute from looks of the Baron timer. Yeah, it's gone. So now we need to wait for Polymorph to kind of take their bases, start to push out a vision line, and look for picks, because we're not completely without damage, but it's just, you know, it's just finding an opportunity to actually hit these targets.
Yeah, it is very, very hard. You know, you already mentioned the Cho'Gath, the zoning tools, but then there's also obviously the barrel chains from Magic, and of course a LeBlanc from Fog of War is going to be pretty terrifying here. So that's easier said than done, certainly, to try and retake some control over this map. They only have a couple of minutes before both of those big objectives are going to be spawning.
Yeah. So let's have a little look at the item spike. So LeBlanc will be on Rabadon come the Drake fight, which is really nice, or at least should be. I have to imagine she's not sitting on too much gold. No Mythic completed for GP, but he's still feeling pretty good himself. There's not too many other notable completions. Akali's managed to get to 2 items, but obviously is going to get eclipsed by Fangirl's Rabadon. Xayah is also not massively ahead, 2 items and a half, so not exactly where she wants to be, but can deal damage as... Oh no.
And Girl looking for the Kayle here. Divine Judgment utilized Dawning Shadow coming out there from Mattia as well.
I mean, it was maybe a rather early. Could have been a little bit earlier with the center ult, but still. Feels a little bit bad. The Fangirl goes in and just, well, you can't 0 to 100 a Kayle ult, so what can you do is we might have another fight in the top lane. It looks like GP's going down.
Magic is rapidly running out of HP. Oh, but the dot, the Trial by Fire is going to make that a 1-for-1 in the top side. And now that's going to be Isaac having to flash away from the Senna route. Okay. And Girl, also, as you say, teleporting into that top lane.
So Burger Flipper is completely unanswered, and there's 30 seconds on GP. They have to base straight away. I mean, there's no Baron up, but we are basically ceding the priority around Drake, which is exactly what UWE wanted. Now they have time to put out some wards. Let's see if they move in as free, and I'm not sure. I mean, they're staying around. Maybe they're going, yeah, it's looking like it.
Gonna be coming up pretty soon now. There is still that control ward for Polymorphed in the Baron pit, so the side of Underworld Empire not really control over anywhere right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be really surprised, to be honest, if they tried to seed Soul for Baron.
Yeah, I mean, giving over Infernal Soul to LeBlanc, that feels like pretty much game over.
Yeah, I mean, they're moving into it now, but it's going to be difficult. They're not in position. Kayle hasn't moved down and has no TP, so she's going to be late no matter what.
Fangirl finds the chain.
I mean, this just makes it harder for him to get in, and now we don't have vision control, so it's going to be a split fight.
Dragon already started. Gonna get burned down really quickly here. Basic Pro with Beast available once again. Yes, Sejuani is here. Oz's gonna try to flip this one. Here comes Kayle from the flank as well. Burger Flipper gonna look to be the difference maker here from the side, but the Feast is good onto the Dragon, and the Kale's gonna get popped as well. They do get one back on Fangirl. That is a really big kill for the side of Underworld Empire. Is Caleb able to stay safe? Is the Xayah able to carry this fight even through the Infernal Soul? Gets stunned up by the Spectral Maw, and there's the parley from the Gangplank. Takes down the Xayah, and that is going to be the 5-for-1 fight.
Surely they
Polymorph come out way ahead.
Oh, are they going to go mid? They're not. They're going to go Baron. I think they can end here on these timers.
I do agree. I think there was an end angle there, but obviously this is a really important match, right? And I think taking the safer option is certainly justifiable here for Polymorphed.
Right.
Gonna go into replay, walk us through it.
Okay, let's see what we've got going on here. So one thing I noticed is the Cho'Gath was hitting for a lot of damage in the early... I mean, we don't see it in this scene, but the Qs were hitting for a lot of damage. And notably, GP and Senna stayed alive this time. Akali did not manage to get on top of them. Kayle buys a good amount of time fighting off the two of them, but is eventually outranged and can't handle the barrels. I mean, Magic expends his flash to actually kill the Kayle, but after that point, there's not really any way for anyone to threaten him. Kali's used all of the spells, and that's basically it. So you see, as the later half of the fight happens, obviously it's gone now, but Caleb tried to step forward into the GP barrels, and without his flash, no way to close the distance, so kind of at that point a doomed fight. I mean, now it's Infernal Soul and Baron for the side of Polymorphed, so I assume they will 1-3-1 it, push their lanes, and just look to siege. I mean, very quickly they can pick apart UWE's base. So I mean, I want to say they can get at least 2 inhibs safely, and then it'll just be, the barrels are starting to hit. I mean, he's onto Prowler's Claw, and he just smacks the turret, you know, trial by fire, just almost killing the turret. I mean, we'll have to see if they make any mistakes and they get too eager, but if they play it really slowly and methodically, they should be able to get to at least Nexus.
Kayle is extremely close to level 16. She's going to get it after just a few more minions. So, you know, there is still a prayer. There's the outside chance for Underworld Empire that Burger Flipper can work some magic. Is going to need to really impress us on the grill here.
I mean,
our Burger Flipping
for Akali
mastermind
would be really strong as well. Could potentially be the difference maker in these 1v1s with Akali versus GP. I mean, level 16 is a lot of extra execute damage.
Still a full minute left on the Baron. Going to be 2 more minion waves coming in.
There goes the
that
turret.
The side of Underworld have to try and defend. There's going to be the first tier 3 taken down in the bottom lane.
Second one to follow
as well. And the top lane as well is destroyed by magic. Only the mid lane remains.
Yeah. So they're just going to walk back. They'll walk in the mid wave, which I think is completely fine. My question will be, are they just going to look to push an end after this wave? They still have decent time on the Baron. They've got about a quarter left. So we're going to walk it in. Let's see if they force a fight now. Oh, barrel hit.
Taking down the turret should be pretty straightforward at least. There goes the last inhibitor defense. But not going to be pushing for anything more. Still 30 seconds left on the Baron, but looks like we're just going to use it for the empowered recalls.
Yeah, going to be very reserved. I thought when the barrel connected onto Burger Flipper, I thought that was going to be it. I thought we were going full send. No. Bit calmer, which I can appreciate. They really want to win this game. So now what they're going to do is they're going to constantly push in mid. I mean, yes, Kale is going to get fed super minions, but someone is going to have to answer the top waves. And if it's Akali, her wave clear is horrendous at this point. She doesn't have Rabadons either, so it's definitely not strong. And they're just going to look to push in and get Elder.
Yeah, I mean, game plan doesn't get much more straightforward from here for Polymorphed.
Oh, no.
They own the entire map, so they kind of just can play it out however they would like to.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I will say is the item spikes are going to get a little bit more favorable for UWE. I mean, if we can close out the Rabadon, you know, maybe close
Burger
out
Flipper 16. Burger Flipper, but does get hit by the barrel chain there, and the Cannon Barrage is utilized as well. Dawning Shadow in the minions! Oh, level 16, KL outplayed by the super creep there. As Burger Flipper is going to go down 45 seconds on that top laner to respawn. The last inhibitor will be taken, and now the teleport into the mid lane for Magic, as now Polymorph certainly should be looking for the end. Caleb doing everything they can, able to take down the Cho'Gath at least. And that is going to be so much damage coming out, though, from the Prowler's gangplank. Yeah. And that will be the end of Game 2. Polymorph, the first seed at the end of the regular season, able to tie up our best of 3 at 1 apiece.
Yeah, I mean, Caleb tried his best. He wanted this game to go on, and Magic said, no, I've had enough. We can end now. Instantly just slams him in the face. Was a tough game. Definitely some moments. I mean, it was back and forth until it wasn't, I want to say. I mean, well executed from the side of Polymorph. I mean, even in the early game, from where they positioned their champions, I mean, they had one bad fight where they let the Senna get caught out, and ever since they adjusted, and they played it really well. I mean, you've got to say, look at the KDA for Fangirl. Strong performance. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like the POG this game is you know, a less difficult decision, let's say. Are you in agreement there, Kat? You think it's still kind of tough, huh?
I mean, a little bit.
I mean, they all played well. You know, obviously, like you said, you know, they had that one rough fight, but then they really did come together as a team, and they started playing much more towards the strengths of their composition for those fights. And, you know, that it was obviously a team effort, but like, come on.
Yeah, I mean,
LeBlanc was such a menace in this game.
Definitely, in the early game, yeah. I feel like, I mean, just the lane dominance was really impressive. I mean, picking up every single kill from all of the early game team fights and slapping Akali in the face with it was really, really nice. I think in the mid to late, we didn't see as much of it. I mean, it was hard to attack the Kale. It's not as if he didn't try. But I mean, yeah, definitely overall a strong performance. I wonder what would have happened if LeBlanc actually hadn't been in this game. What if it was a Syndra or a slightly different choice? Potentially, if they couldn't have taken some of those early game fights. And with it being Fangirl's signature champion, I will keep mentioning it. I have to wonder if it ever gets banned out. I mean, GP has not been banned for either team, and both have had a chance at playing it. I think the Kale was a really nice answer, but the comp didn't come together as a whole.
Yeah.
So, you know, where is the adjustment? It seems like team fight is the direction. The team that's got better team fight seems to be pulling it together, executing, and both teams seem to be trading blows in the laning phase. So let's just pick something that scales regardless, is what I would like to see. And then let's see who, you know, outperforms in the team fights, because I think everyone's having their moments right now.
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
Even Kalen was having some fights that looked really good. Obviously, he didn't get to perform to the same degree as last game, but I wouldn't say he had a bad performance. So yeah, definitely for both teams, shake it off. Like, last game does not matter whether you won, whether you lost. Is
best of one now.
Next game. Yeah, best of one. This is it. Like, people are going to be nervous. There's going to be mistakes. Just take a deep breath. Play the best you can. Stay as a team. Stay focused. Keep moving on to the next thing. See who wins.
Absolutely, Kat. That is what it's all about. You know, like you said, both of these teams going back and forth, all of these players having their moments already in this series, and both games have gone pretty late. You know, clearly both of these squads very, very closely matched, and both, honestly, seem like they would be deserving to go on to those grand finals. But as we all know, only one of the two will have that honor. You won't want to miss finding out who it's going to be, guys. We're going to be right back with Game 3. Welcome back, everybody. We are getting ready to begin our third and final draft of the night. We're going to take a quick look at the bracket just to remind everybody what exactly is at stake here. Once again, the loser of this match, of this next game, their season will be over. Yes, Logic has promised us that he will personally murder every single one of them. The ones who lose this game. So there is quite a bit at stake here. And, before they do get murdered, though, they will at least be able to secure the third place prize pool of 25 euros. So maybe that will help them to escape Logic's wrath. We'll just have to wait and see. But the winner of this game will, of course, go on to those grand finals to face off against Reef Tsunami for the first place prize pool of 135 euros. So quite a bit at stake. We do have our Underworld Empire selecting blue side for Game 3. Blue side is the side that has secured both of the wins so far in tonight's match. And it's also the side that my co-caster, Kat, has predicted for both games in this match. So, Kat, what do you think? 3 for 3 for blue side?
It's weird because I don't think the first pick has actually been the defining factor in any of the games. So hard to say, really. It could quite possibly be that both teams kind of tunnel visioned on the red side counter pick and maybe ended up with skewed lanes. But I think it's quite possible for both teams to get a really good red side draft. I think they've shown the tools and the champs that they would need. So, yeah, there's no reason why they can't. But, you can't deny that blue side has won twice. So if blue side wins 3 times, do we just tick it off and say, yeah, blue side's in there? I don't know. We'll see.
We shall see. Of course, have to see what is going to go down here in this third drafting phase. What other adaptations would you like to see from the side of Polymorphed? Besides, I guess we should maybe ask about the side of Underworld Empire, actually, since they are the ones who lost Game 2. Besides the selecting of the blue side, what other key adaptations do you think they need to make?
Okay. I think GP has been really strong for whichever team has had it. I really think there should be more priority on this pick. I think it's working well for both teams. And while obviously the Kale was shown as an answer from Burger Flipper, and I don't think it looked terrible, I still don't think it was overwhelmingly good. And it still requires a lot of resources to work. You're investing quite a lot. You're kind of changing your damage profile. Whereas if you pick GP, not only does he get to have more of an early game impact, he was still a really big threat in the mid to late. So yeah, I'm looking at the GP most of all, but I think it's also worth considering the bot lane and the mid lane picks a little bit. Because I think Calum did not get to have the impact they wanted in that game with the early rotation Zyra Khan. I'm not necessarily saying don't pick bot lane, but I do think if you want Calum to be your main source of damage and you don't want to play as heavily into mid and top, you need to give him, more champs in the draft before he picks or more setup. Really just give him the resources he needs. Perhaps they're going to run it back and maybe just change the mid jungle picks. Maybe the Akali blind was a bit tough and they actually regret, blinding that champ and giving Fangirl something that he was really comfortable playing. So yeah, We'll see. There's definitely options for both teams.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely going to be keeping my eyes on that Gangplank. I have a feeling that it might get banned away from red side here for Underworld Empire, but again, we'll just have to wait and see. And I do... I forgot. Underworld Empire actually on the blue side now, so that would be Polymorphed, potentially banning away that Gangplank from the red side. But yeah, we shall see, and I do agree that playing around Calum would be probably a pretty good idea for Underworld Empire. Calum has been quite consistent tonight, and in this crucial, deciding Game 3, I think putting the eggs in the bot carry basket would make a good amount of sense.
Yep, I think as much. I'm expecting bans to stay relatively the same. They didn't really change from Game 1 to Game 2. There was one different ban. So we can expect Zeri still to go, Jinx is still to go. There's another jungle pick to go, I think. So not too many deviations inside of the bans, but the picks are what we're looking at really, particularly what do UWE open with, what do Polymorph answer with, because Zyra Khan on R1, R2 was quite a big tell. It was a lot of commitment. We've already shown, we're weak to range, we're weak to poke, and that was that. Whereas Polymorphed, they might not go into that. They might have a different, team comp in mind, or a different set of picks that completely changes. Cho'Gath is banned away, rather than the Senna, which is interesting to say the least, but obviously UWE did not like playing against that.
Gangplank's still open, so are things like the Gragas and the LeBlanc, so lots of options available still for both of these teams.
Yeah.
It's the Lulu on B1.
Which
I believe this is what they...
time.
And I believe it's what Underworld Empire opened with in Game 1 as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I believe it was. Yeah, and the Sivir on the 2-3. I mean, obviously that's not going to be an option this time, so there's slightly worse pairings with the Lulu. And what's going to be important here is, will Polymorph go Enchanter support and match it, or are they going to go Zyra Khan or Rakan something? So they're going to opt to Zyra Khan. So now what I really want to see is UWE picking range and poke. Do not let Polymorphed engage into you. I would love a Draven pick. Please do this to me, Calum.
Why do we love the Draven pick here, Kat?
It's really strong into Xayah, good lane bully. He's got his E, so it actually functions somewhat decently as disengage. And he's baited me and he's gone for the Varus anyways, which by all means is not a bad matchup. All is really nice for just picking out the Xayah or constantly forcing her ult. It's good poke in the early stages, so you can threaten the lane phase a bit. And we finally have a Gragas pick when it mattered most.
We've been talking about the Fat Man all night, but he has had no presence in these drafts up until this point. Now locked away.
Oh, okay, and the GP comes back.
There's the Pirate.
So
going to be back in the hands of Magic up there on the top side. Same pilot as that previous game number 2.
Yeah, I'm very happy to see this. Obviously, I think the Gragas is great. Very versatile. I think it's very good into the Zyra Khan. I think Xayah is very weak to getting a cask on the face. Obviously, if Gragas tries hard to engage into her, it's going to be difficult, but if he can stand his ground and force Xayah to come in a bit, suddenly you're walking into cask, you're walking into body slam, and it's very difficult. Obviously, the GP comes out, and that's going to give you a bit more room to play in these fights. You can get a bit more space, but already UWE showing, well, okay, we know what we want. We want Calum to be a strong force on this Varus, build up an early lead. Now let's pick tools around that.
Yeah, definitely. Honestly, the Gragas feels pretty good into the Gangplank as well. Obviously,
I would expect
cannot
it to go
cleanse
top.
knockbacks. So
yeah, I would fully expect Gragas to go top at this point, as Olaf is the pick. So I wonder if that's because they are calling the bluff on the Gragas, because it is a pretty nice matchup. Obviously, both champions have changed a lot since it was originally played, but we'll have to see. I would like to see an AD jungle and a decent AP mid pairing, so we're going back for the LeBlanc for the Baboon this time, which is definitely a different one. And it is blind. So we'll have to see what answer Fangirl has.
I mean, it is. So we have obviously the Gangplank and the Olaf locked in for Polymorphed. My kind of theory right now is they want to send the Olaf top lane into the Gragas and possibly a Gangplank mid. I think could
Sion
be a
is
thing.
good. Okay, so I really like Sion. I think UWE's rounded out their draft well. I think the enemy team's champs struggle to deal with Sion. He's an immovable wall. Very good into the likes of Olaf, into the likes of Xayah. GP will eventually be able to kill him, but I think it gives you comp exactly what you needed. Don't tell me we're having an Akali LeBlanc run back. Okay, I root for the Fangirl.
Fangirl back on the Ahri.
Yeah, another champ that had a really strong performance on. So picking it into the LeBlanc this time, obviously we'll know exactly what this LeBlanc is capable of. Going straight into it heads first. So overall, UWE have, I would say, a much nicer team fight comp. I think it's more well-rounded. But Polymorphed have, once again, some explosiveness. They've got, Rakans, Alt and W to find really quick picks. They've got Irie Charm, they're a bit mobile. So all they want to do is essentially run over this early game, force the enemy team to come in and essentially just pick them. Make them walk into our spells, kill them. Whereas UWE want to scale up, want to get Varus to a point where he's a little bit tanky, he can hit, Gragas and Sion are Doom, and they can just scrap. So another really important early game to watch here.
Absolutely. What kind of build do you think Caleb might go for on this Varus? Obviously, once we see the runes, that will give us some indication. But what do you think would make more sense with these drafts?
Well, it's a weird one because he's main AD source. I think potentially it's an okay game for hybrid, but Poke is really strong against the enemy team champions. I won't lie, against Aya and against GP. I mean, Poke is really nice.
Lane, definitely. Poke
so
Varus.
It's a hard one to say. I don't think there's like a right or wrong answer, but I would probably play a mix of on hit and poke myself. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what he does with it, and it's obviously a slightly different champ for Caleb, so we'll see if he can pilot it as well as the hyper carries that he has been doing up until now.
Definitely. And Baboon on the LeBlanc this time, something that you did briefly mention earlier. That's going to be really interesting to look out for as well. See if he can try and replicate the performance that Fangirl had in that previous game. And Sion in the top lane is probably not going to have the greatest of times in the gangplank, but he's not really playing for lane, that Sion. He's just looking to frontline for the team in those team fights later on, once they do start to scale up a little bit. So,
for the record, I do think the Sion lane against GP is actually really good for Sion. I think he really enjoys this lane. So, yes, GP in the mid to late is going to hold the side down really well, providing Sion doesn't get massively ahead for some reason. But in the early game, your W is really nice for trading. You're able to walk in, threaten the barrels, use your Q to push, and deal a lot of damage. And obviously, you can cleanse the Q, but you've already taken such a heavy chunk of damage at that point. If he's managed to get a good Q on you, you're kind of losing the trade anyways. So I quite like the matchup, and I like the champ dynamic. So I'm really looking at Irie to get around the map, kind of attack either the Sion or even just the Varus, and kind of pull UWE's composition apart. Because I think if they get left alone to just play the game, it's going to be very favored for them.
Absolutely. Well, we shall see, guys. Thank you for correcting me on that top lane matchup. I'm not super familiar, so that lane will be very exciting to watch as well. And obviously, what's not exciting about this third game? Everything on the line for both of these teams, but as we said before, only one can move on to face off against Reef in those grand finals. Don't go anywhere, folks. You don't want to miss the end of this one. Hello, one more time, everybody. Welcome back to Summoner's Rift as our teams enter into battle once more tonight. One more game to decide it all, to decide who is going on to those grand finals. And once again, Kat, I think especially with so much at stake here, we're not going to go for any level ones.
Yeah, I mean, now that you mention it, both teams have been really controlled level 1. Not really trying to set out any vision or heavily fight for anything. Which I think is fine. Something I quite like to do when I notice that both teams are 5-pointing is actually just stack and do an invade somewhere. So like walk into the bot bushes. But realistically, we don't have any way of reaching. Your only knock-up would be for Rakan. So it's completely understandable. We just have a nice, easy early game. And both teams probably have their win conditions very clearly in mind.
Oh, yes. Certainly hope so, at least.
You would hope so at this point. So now it's just a question of, right, well, let's track the junglers. Let's see where the early game action happens. And then let's see what fights we pick and choose around it. So obviously, Calum going lethal tempo on Varus. He's going to opt in, I assume, for a full on-hit build rather than any sort of hybrid like I mentioned. Because in that case, you'd probably just go Comet and play for the lane early on, build different items.
Sure.
Other than that, everything looks fairly standard for what I would expect. Sion is starting Ruby Crystal, which is something Sion players like to do a bit. Just skip the starting item, which is fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, Sion obviously does scale really, really nicely off of HP, so the Ruby Crystal start, I think,
he
makes
has
some
very
sense.
good wave clear as it is, so he's not so bothered. Once again, back and forth trading in the mid lane. I mean, level 2 comes out slightly earlier for LeBlanc, but it's nice to see these early trades. I mean, we're already burning through the corrupting pot that Fangirl has. So, small advantage, but it's the sort of thing that can add up, especially come, if there's a level 3 or 4 fight around any of the scuttles or anything of the sort. These small advantages will put you out on top.
We are seeing both of our junglers start on the top side of the map. Going to be clearing down, so matching one another this time around with the same clears.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really good game for Gragas to full clear. He's not got a terrible full clear by any means. And he knows his Varus Lulu is quite safe. It's not easy for them to get ganked, really, by an Olaf. So he's happy to just get his level 4, take, his bot lane prio, move it in. As a free man, I think they're quite happy to fight anything. They're quite strong. So, yeah, I like what he's doing. He's just saying, right, I'll path into my bot lane. I'm going to be strong. We'll see what happens. He's going to be healthier than Olaf at this point in the game. But Olaf should really probably base, as we do have a good
entrance.
trade.
Going to find the knockup onto the Lulu. Yes, indeed. A great trade coming out from Polymorphed. And down here in this bottom side.
I don't think it's enough to force the Scuttle Prio. So yeah, you can see Olaf is just going to base. I really like that. He's going to base, walk straight to the top side Scuttle, and then go back to doing his camps. It does hurt his base a little bit, but obviously nothing you can do about that.
Right. Yeah, the Olaf in the jungle is a really interesting... Okay, hang on a second. Burger Flipper may be in some trouble up here. That's going to be a parlay. Simply Magic not going to go for it. He's simply going to allow the Scion to walk away. Just maybe feeling like his own flash is a little bit more valuable than that of the Scions, and knowing that Burger Flipper still had that available, not feeling like it was worthwhile to just trade those summoners.
Definitely. I think flashing for the kill, acceptable. Flashing for flash, yeah, fair enough. I wouldn't do that. We do have some more trading.
That's double chain on the Fangirl. Baboon looking for it. Couple more autos. The potion taking the flash for the auto, but the turret shot is going to make it a 1-for-1 because, of course, it's a 1-for-1. We've been seeing them all night.
But I mean, the wave state is really not good for Baboon. I mean, if Fangirl TP's back and is able to get this cannon, I mean, it's still a win, but definitely not overall ideal.
Although it was the first blood that did get picked up by LeBlanc, so that is something at least, as that's going to be the Xayah flash forced out. The arrow getting basically extremely low, and Caleb will flash, but not quite able to pick up the kill. The flash for the picks. Oh, dear, the Glitter Lance, not quite enough there to finish off the kill. Potion ticking for Pasted. That's a lot of summoners used.
Yeah, I feel like that one might have been a little bit nerves. Health bar was obviously quite high, and there's still cleanse on Xayah, so I think it was difficult to get a kill, even if you had Ignite, say. we do cancel the base, so they'll have to stay in lane a little bit longer, which is quite nice. Rakan does have Flash Ignite. I wonder if he'll actually look to just pop them on this push. As you can see, it is kind of hard for GP to actually threaten the Sion. Sion is constantly getting the push into this GP. I wouldn't say he's necessarily hard winning, but he's definitely winning out.
Fangirl, though, has his mid laner in the area, and that should definitely allow him to win out here. The Scion zombie form might have been enough to take down the Gangplank if he was able to stay on top of him, but that obviously is not going to be the case.
I mean, I don't know if you remember when I said in draft, I'm looking at the Irie to get into the other lanes, attack the Scion, and that's exactly what she's doing. So they are going to also try and turn this into a Drake, it looks like.
That's true. Yeah, there was the commitment from the mid laner towards the top side. Should provide some sort of window. Underworld Empire, that's a nice flash knock-up from Tiamoso. Gets it onto both bot laners. And that is going to be a couple of kills set up really nicely as the Cannon Barrage coming in over the top for a little bit of extra damage. And now Isaac is in a tough spot. That's another activation of the Spirit Rush is available. He still has it. Fangirl going to be able to find that kill in the 1v2. Push Baboon back into this mid lane and even gets away from the chain with the extra Spirit Charge.
Yeah, I mean, they take track. We know Varus Lulu have no sums, so they hold a position. Weirdly, Isaac goes onto the Drake, and it looks like they're confused as to where Polymorphed actually are. LeBlanc kind of moves into their jungle as if they're looking for them, but they don't realize, and Lulu crucially doesn't spot the blast gun, so as they're kind of wanting to head towards their jungler, they get collapsed on. It's a very quick pick. Just overall good play. I mean, the fact that they also get to turn it into a kill onto the jungler is just adding fire to the flames, really. So now they get a nice little gold lead and the Drake. I mean, rolling in the early game so far for Polymorphed.
Indeed, they're having the cake and they're also eating it. Just to expand on your metaphors there.
Yes.
Feeling really good right now in this early game, and that's going to be Baboon going in for a chain, and they are going to be able to find that kill onto the Olaf. So signs of life for Underworld Empire.
Yeah, and I mean, it's what we need. We need some kills to go on to Caleb, get him into a position where when he gets a chance to hit, he needs to deal meaningful damage. And if he's, not really ahead or even just a bit behind, he's going to feel like a pea shooter. So we need to put some resources into him, and it's good to see him getting a kill. Hopefully he can kind of leverage this to get some prio back in the lane, start to contest the Xayah a bit more and just not get completely walked over.
Absolutely. Getting that early kill onto the marksman. As we were talking about from the draft, this is probably the biggest win condition for Underworld Empire, is Caleb down here in the bottom lane. A little bit of a tough spot right now, though. Doesn't have his support in lane at the moment. Getting zoned off of this wave means that the CS lead going to extend a little bit for Pasted Co. Chain of Corruption actually does come out, and the unstoppable onslaught from the Scion, but Rakan is too slippery. He's able to dash away back towards Pasted Co, but the LeBlanc is here. The quickness comes out, gets the charm onto 3, and the Blade Caller, beautiful from Pasted Co, and they're looking to turn around this 3-man attempt from Underworld Empire. They do finish off the Rakan, though. A nice arrow from Caleb Maveris, able to get number 2, and it almost looked like the Lovers duo was going to be able to outplay that, but not quite able to get away in the end.
Yeah, I mean, it was close, but it was a really nice charm to interrupt the damage from Baboon. But still, nice net win, and just once again, more gold going the way of Caleb.
Yeah, it is going to be the Rift Herald taken up on the top side, though, by Polymorphed. So that is, both early neutrals going their way. It's going to feel reasonably good. Cannon Barrage actually utilized there. Yeah, a little bit of miscommunication, though, maybe, as Pasted Co actually was walking back as that GP ult came down, and Burger Flipper is just going to be able to walk it out.
Yeah, I mean, it's a small loss. Nothing that you'll worry too much about. I'm not 100% on the Drake timer. 2 minutes, yeah. So we'll have ultimate up by then. GP can just continue to leverage pressure in lane.
Oh, nice charm again from Fangirl. Yeah. Looking for it onto Baboon as Spirit Rush is able. Ignite comes down from the Rakan, but there's a little bit of shielding coming out from Jesse here as well, as both supports make their way into the mid lane, and nobody's going to go down.
Yeah, but it is a loss of the Flash for Baboon, so obviously it's not a complete disaster, but still overall quite nice. Oh no, Burger Flipper is going to walk at Simply Magic. What's he going to do?
Very menacingly. He's going to swing his axe a little bit as well, and he's just going to get off a nice trade.
if there was an ult there for Burger Flipper, that could have been a forced flash, which says a lot about the nature of this matchup.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a 2-0 GP with Essence Reaver and Stopwatch, but what can you do? Sion just dies and walks at you, and somehow he can kill you.
Yeah, definitely seems much less comfortable for the Gangplank as opposed to the matchup against the Olaf that we saw in game number 1.
For now, anyways. It will eventually level out, but just not yet.
No.
So we have now got... Yeah, go on.
Oh, I was just going to... I'm actually going to have to stop myself right there as the stopwatch.
Oh,
dear, Burger Flipper didn't check the inventory. The flash available as well. Is the zombie Scion going to be able to trade one back? No. It's not going to happen. Magic with the outplay. He has the stasis, and he finds the solo kill.
Yeah, making use of the flash advantage. I lost track of when Scion lost flash and why, but yeah. We have got another find on the bot lane. Let's see if he can cast Rakan. Nope, doesn't look like it.
Trouble. Yeah, Rakan too slippery. Gonna be able to get away.
Okay, but that's still a major cooldown, getting blown just before the Drake. So we've now got no sums on all of UWE's carries, and flashes on the carries for Polymorph. So I think it would be a hard ask for them to contest this against, the likes of Rakan Flash and setup that they have.
Definitely. Look at all this vision, for Underworld Empire. At least they're going to know when Polymorph are moving down into that river. But like you say, it definitely seems like Polymorph have more tools right now to actually go for the fight. And they have themselves a nice little gold lead actually already as well. 3k up once again in this early game. And if we call our minds back to game 2, it was Fangirl getting ahead in this mid lane that was the biggest difference maker, at least for the early game. And once again, we see the Ahri up about 800 gold individually.
Yeah, I mean, looking strong on the pick. I think right now, if you're UWE, the only thing you need to be pressured about is the Drakes. So they have just rolled Cloud Soul. If I was UWE, I'd probably turtle for most of the rest of the game. I would, because who knows if the fights are going to go in our favor at this point in the game. Rather than, opting into the opportunity to get picked, I would just play really defensive and play for the later stages where we're going to have 3-4 items, and hopefully we can play this back to front really nicely.
I don't know, Cat. I mean, I do hear you. There is... Oh, that's going to be a charm in the mid lane. Yeah. LeBlanc actually going forward with this distortion. Baboon maybe looking for this one. Another chain does come out, and just barely there is enough damage, but the cannon barrage is once again going to make that a 1-for-1. But as I was just saying, I do definitely hear you. Okay, my God, we really can't talk at all, can we? As Magic is getting unstoppably onslaughted upon, and there's also a Gragas here to boop him a little bit with the belly. Magic desperately trying to trade one back. Needs a little bit more damage to take out the Scion, but not going to be able to find it. That's going to be a shutdown over to Isaac on the Gragas jungle. Now Olaf is here, looking to turn this fight around, but the Ragnarok utilized not to great effect there, as Pokerivach not able to lock anybody down.
Yeah, and it looks like this bot lane is starting to go more in the favor of UWE, which is what we wanted to see. Now Varus is strong enough to kind of outtrade, even without his mythic. He's getting stacks onto Rakan, blowing him up a bit, which is really nice, and they don't feel as if they can actually engage into the Varus Lulu. So we'll wait and see how this pans out, especially after Caleb can actually get some items. He might be about to get picked.
Oh, that is Mattia looking for it with the quickness, going to land the flash charm there onto the Lulu. That was everything used by the Rakan, but it is going to be another kill for Apto Fangirl.
Yeah, and I mean, just pick after pick.
Oh, the double distortion. The chain is going to land, but Mattia in a position to defend.
Yep, good cover. Well.
Oh, yes. As I was trying to say a minute ago, I wanted to respond to your point about the strategy for Underworld Empire being to turtle and not fight for a while. And as I was saying, I do think it's a very good point, as they do have very good scaling, and they're not really in a great position to fight right now. But at the same time, and, usually Cloud Soul, as you also mentioned, is not necessarily considered to be the strongest of souls. But when we look at the champions that are available here for Polymorphed, Olaf with Cloud Soul, Ahri, Rakan with Cloud Soul,
I think Rakan is
pretty
a big
scary.
Deal. Yeah.
Okay. But once again, we're going to have to stop ourselves as a potential fight breaks out in the mid lane. Jonathan Isaac
cast.
looking for the cast, gets it onto Fangirl, but they have the Spirit Rush. They're going to go back over the wall to join up with their support. Charm does land onto the jungler. Cannon Barrage coming out now as well for a little bit of additional damage. The Belly Bop denies the knockup from the Grand Entrance. Really cute there from Isaac. And we're going to be able to disengage.
So, nice. Oh no.
Okay, yeah, Caleb might not be able to disengage. He does have the shield bow for a little bit of healing, and Pasted Co actually is not going to win out in that fight. Didn't quite have the Featherstorm available just yet, and Varus comes out with the victory.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay. We've got another fight.
We've got another fight. No rest for the weary over here as your play-by-play, but it is actually going to be just the Herald secure. Surely does go over to Polymorphed.
I'm really surprised about that bot trade. I mean, Xayah actually chose to flash the ult rather than the Q, but she had cleanse, so I think it was okay to just tank it and then trade it out that way. But
true.
Nonetheless, Caleb just barely getting the upper hand, and now he gets first turret out of it, so that is definitely pressure snowballing on this Varus 3-in-1, and definitely the person to look at in this next team fight.
Absolutely. Keeping our eyes on this Varus, and with the shield bow, you know, and we did predict it just based on the lethal tempo, right? But that is certainly confirmation that it is going to be likely just the full-on hit Varus in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I am a fan of going Kraken Slayer. Okay, we have got another pick. Do we have a cast?
Mattia is still Rakan, but he's a little bit surrounded. He's going to find a really nice knock-up, but Baboon did manage to escape from that one. Distortion back over the wall. Now Fangirl missing the charm onto Isaac, and the Gragas looks like he's going to be able to get back to safety, but no, maybe not. This Fangirl's flashing forward. The Ignite coming out there from Mattia as well on top of Onslaught. There's a flash in front for Magic to deny the escape from the Scion, and Magic secures the solo kill. And in the mid lane, it's a double for Fangirl, as it's going to be the side of Polymorph coming out ahead across the map.
Yeah, winning in these small individual skirmishes where you would probably think UWE's strength is exactly the opposite. I mean, yes, they do have a LeBlanc, but there's not that strong tools to play around. You're really looking to enable the back to front, so it's a little bit sad to see that they're getting these resources onto Caleb as they wanted, but he's just not getting a chance to use them.
Yeah.
And I mean that's now going to be tier 1 going as well for the top lane. I mean,
and soon, Cloud Soul Point.
Yeah, you have to imagine the tier 1 in mid lane will then also fall to the Rift Herald on Olaf. And suddenly your map has been opened up and we're on Cloud Soul Point. So definitely feeling the pressure. Now you maybe have 1 fight, 2 fights at most, and you've got to get it right.
Absolutely. And the silver lining for Underworld Empire is that that's gonna be the knockup. There's the root. Oh, actually doesn't quite get the root there onto Baboon with the Blade Caller. Not enough feathers in position to lock down the LeBlanc. Distortion back up means that the Trickster will be able to get back towards the tier 2 turret. That's gonna be the Chain of Corruption onto Fangirl, and there is Caleb being active in the fight. That's how it looks when they involve the Varus in these skirmishes. Able to get that kill on Yari, even a shutdown, but this is a big play from Polymorphed in the mid lane. They're going to be able to get this charge into the tier 2 as it has been destroyed now by Shirley. She's even going to charge into the inhibitor turret as well. Yeah, there's a ghost popped by Pokri Batch as they are a little bit surrounded. The Ensemble Onslaught onto 2. They're going to have a lot of CC now onto the Xayah, and Pasted Co, not having the Featherstorm either, does get taken down. Scion digging a big chunk there from Magic with the Parley. Is Magic going to be able to fight his way out of this one? It's not looking good. He does manage to take the Scion with him, but Caleb is able to secure that kill onto the Gangplank. And it's going to be a 2-for-1 fight overall, and that one does go in favor of Underworld Empire.
I think Burger Flippers was enjoying the Scion playstyle a little bit too much at the end there, but, you know, fair enough. I mean, we're seeing there the Gragas really come into fruition. Ask. Really nice. Not only does it displace Xayah up against the wall, but does a lot of damage. She's very weak to these sorts of spells. And overall, it's not the biggest swing in momentum, but definitely some more gold going into UWE. As you can see, the rotation coming around from Scion. I really like that he ulted straight away to buffer any amount of CC, and then you'll see he actually gets the Q cast off, which is immense, because it means Xayah is held in place, hit by the cask, and now they're doomed. And I mean, the fight is a little bit slow. Magic actually gets to hit a barrel or 2 and deal some damage, as is what I meant. I think Bergflip maybe could have not gone in there, but overall, still, the fights are looking, at least when it happens in this sort of manner, where they're able to get a good flank or pick apart the skirmish that Polymorph are trying to force on UWE in these smaller lanes, as we have got a Baron start.
Polymorph
never
Barons
gone
instead
well.
of P1 Barons. They did manage to secure the early Baron in the previous game, at least the first one, or maybe that was game 1 where they locked down the 20-minute Baron, but that's going to be Underworld Empire wise to the tricks this time around, but they eliminate the Gragas very, very quickly as the Ragnarok popped from the Olaf, trying to run down Caleb now on this Varus, and they are able to take him out as Pokrivetch with the Ragnarok has the damage to take down the AD carry, and now the fight has completely fallen apart for the side of Underworld Empire. They were in position, they knew that they had to contest for the Baron, but the fight was better for Polymorph.
It's heartbreak. It was so close to being a really good fight for UWE. They had the tools there, but the engage happened and Caleb wasn't able to follow up. He was separated by the GP ult and the threat of Olaf, and by the time that he feels pressure to re-engage, there's still too many spells up, so he can't get in. He ends up getting caught and going down for it. We actually see now in a replay, so let's have a little look. So the barrels hit to chunk not only Gragas, but also Caleb and Jesse, and then there's just no follow-up. The minute Caleb tries to walk forward, see, and what I'll argue here is the issue is Sion is tanking damage, but not CC. All of the CC spells are still available to use on Caleb. Rakan holds his entire kit. So possibly what we needed to see in this fight was a different angle from Baboon, or maybe Isaac not getting chunked out as early as he did so he could pressure and open up more space for Caleb.
And obviously no cleanse for the Varus either, so when those spells do land, Caleb really just has very little recourse, very little that the Varus can do in that situation.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's going to be hard for them to contest this sole point. I mean, they're getting slammed in the lanes. They don't have very good waves there.
Pokrivetch in the jungle here. So Olaf is going to get chunked out quite a bit, but in the top side, same story for Burger Flipper. Sion at least does have teleport, so can join up with the team to contest for the soul.
You're looking at Hearts.
Or not if he's dead, as Fangirl goes under the turret with the Spirit Rush and takes down the kill. Oh dear, in the mid lane though, basic code, the Gale Force backward, lands the Blade Caller, and there's the quickness coming out from Rakan into the double knockup with the grand entrance, the feathers fly, and that might be the death knell for the Underworld Empire. They are on their way to the Underworld indeed, as Pasted Co has sent them there, and with the full, clean ace coming through for Polymorph, they're looking to end the game.
Yeah, I mean, really nice find in the mid lane. I mean, there's not too much to say. They built themselves up a really nice lead, and they just went for it. I mean, it was good team fighting. It was a good individual performance from both the laners, and overall, it was a close series. But today, Polymorphed were just a step ahead.
It was a very close series indeed, and this Game 3 actually was by far the quickest of our 3 games tonight. You know, Polymorph able to end this one in just 23 minutes after securing that first Baron immediately on spawn. They found such a decisive, well, 2 decisive back-to-back team fights, and that was all they needed.
Definitely. I mean, it's a weird one because I don't feel like UWE got to play towards their comp. Well, I feel like the Varus is a little bit... I won't say it's like really difficult, but it's a little bit difficult to play towards. For it actually needs to build up a pretty considerable lead for it to feel really good. And when all these fights were happening away from the Varus, it was very difficult for him to get involved, to build up any sort of lead, and suddenly struggles to play in the team fights. And I mean, there's not too much to say. I think they fell apart a bit, UWE, in this game. The Sion took a lot of deaths, and obviously so did Baboon, really. So it was a tough one, but still a really good series from them. And I think you have to respect how far they've come and the way that they've done it. But it's a nice recovery and a resurgence from Polymorphed to, you know, lose the first game and go on to win 2 more.
Absolutely. You know, in the end, it was the greatest strengths for Polymorph that we called out at the very beginning of the stream, right? These solo laners really kind of taking over in this third and deciding game, and making it the most decisive of the 3. So definitely credit where it's due. Magic and Fangirl really performing very, very well, you know, really in the entire match, but especially in this third game. to secure their team spot in the grand finals.
Definitely. I mean, well, it was quite a crazy back and forth series. I'm a little bit lost for words. Didn't think this is what
it
we'd be
ended
coming
so
into.
suddenly after it felt like the series was going on for so long, and then it just kind of ended out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's a little bit anticlimactic almost, but the final game wasn't telling really for the fight that both teams put up across the series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but I mean,
I agree. Yeah.
I can't complain. I mean, the games we were given were really good.
Oh, for sure.
I suppose now
go ahead.
We have to look on to the next round. Polymorphed will get a rematch against Reef Tsunami. So
they will.
It's going to be a question of what have they learned in this series as well. Obviously this time they struggled right at the start and they were able to adjust. They were able to get something that they liked and pull it to a victory. Now the question is, can they take everything that they've learned and transform it into something really good that can then take the fight back to Reef?
Yeah, I mean, obviously when the last time that Polymorph and Reef met was just last round, the last match in the playoffs for both of those teams, and it was Reef that came away with the 2-0. Polymorph not able to take even a game in that match, but maybe, with the best of 5 as well, and with the strength being in the solo lanes for Polymorph, maybe some additional utilization of counter picks there, some more creative drafting, could be the difference that they need to make that next meeting look a little bit different.
Definitely. I mean, we'll have to look forward to it. Hopefully, we get a banger series just like this one. Obviously, it'll be a best of 5. So, hopefully, we'll get some more games and it'll go the distance. But, I mean, you want to say that Reef are probably the favorites. I mean, they've looked strong throughout playoffs. But, I mean, you can't deny that Polymorphed have a shot at it and potentially have found the pieces that they need by playing this lower bracket series and having to work their way back up.
Absolutely. I think we are all in agreement that it's going to be a very exciting matchup one way or the other. But before we get to that, Kat, let's decide on our player of the game for this third and final one. I'm not going to say anything this time. I'm not going to try and sway your opinion. Who would you lean towards on the side of Polymorphed?
Well, we know we're deciding out of 2 people.
That would be, I would agree, yeah.
I'm giving it to Magic.
Okay. Gangplank twice in a row. 2 great Plank games in a row.
I think his Gangplank performance was immaculate. I'm thinking about the team fights. I'm thinking good barrels hitting onto the backline every single time. And it's not even just that he's like standing there and free hitting them. He's actually hitting barrels while he's being pressured by the enemy jungler on top, and I think that's really difficult to do. When I saw it in the replay, it really impressed me. I think not only is he racking up damage, but he's racking up damage in team fights, which is not an easy thing to do. Obviously, his performance in lane was really nice. I do not think this is an easy lane by any means, but he was able to eke it out. He obviously had one fairly flashy outplay in the top lane.
Yeah.
And I just feel like overall, his performance in all the games has been very pivotal. Now, yes, Fangirl had some also really immaculate performances. I think the second game was really, really strong. And even this game was also quite strong. And I must say, the playmaking onto top lane was what actually gave Magic the lead in the first place, now that I think about it. So it's a difficult one. It's not like I can take away from Fangirl. Yeah, I think the overall team fights and the most crucial moments came down more often than not to what Magic was doing on this Gangplank.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. I definitely do not disagree, and Magic was on top of the damage charts as well for this third and final game, 27,000, so I think that definitely does count for something as well. Really just a great performance, as you said, all around from the top laner. It wasn't restricted to just the laning phase or just the team fights. It was consistently good Gangplank play that provided Polymorph with such a great foundation from that top lane that put them in a really good position to succeed in the team fights as well. So I think we might be having a POG interview, guys, before we end the stream for tonight. So don't go anywhere. We're going to have a little bit more content for you. We'll be right back. All right, everybody, welcome back. We're about to get our POG for this third game, Simply Magic, into the studio here for a post-game interview. But like we were just saying, obviously a really great performance from everybody over there on Polymorphed. And it'll be really interesting to hear from the top laner on how it all went down.
Yeah. I mean, I do think Polymorphed as a team functioned better than UWE did. So definitely as a unit played really well, but obviously Magic won MVP because his performance was standout and it was very consistent. But yeah, I mean, definitely just a notch above UWE. They were not so far ahead that it was, a quick 2-0, but definitely showing to be a step above in the team fights particularly.
Absolutely agree. That is how it broke down. I do see Magic over there in the other voice channel. We just need to
bring him to us.
Get him in here. Oh, do we have the power?
Oh wait, I just remembered I am a moderator.
All right, Kat, remembering your job, fantastic. Very nice, very nice, very nice.
Hello.
Magic, welcome
Hello.
to the studio. Congratulations on your 2-1 victory over UWE tonight and on making it to the grand finals for a rematch against Reef Tsunami. How are you feeling?
Pretty good after the series. There was some shaky moments, especially game 1 and 2, but we find our groove and we did what we can to secure our rematch against Reef.
Yeah.
Find your groove, you most certainly did. My first question for you is going to be concerning the draft specifically. Obviously the Gangplank, the Pirate, turned out to be a very, very important pick between both of the teams tonight. So just talk to me a little bit about the Pirate, and how confident were you when you were able to secure the Gangplank for Game 3 that you were going to be able to help carry your team to a victory?
Honestly, I was very confident game 1, 2, and 3 when I could have the Gangplank or play against the Gangplank, because I have played a lot of Gangplank in the past. So I was quite confident. However, I guess it's just unpunishable in CWL overall, because really taking scaling champions on top lane, just blinding Gwen, blinding GP, I got responded by a Kayle, which is a great matchup for the Kayle into the Gangplank. Not expected at all. I really thought they are going to go the Sion or the Ornn. That's really more conventional response, right? But overall, scaling top laners seem to be dominant. Especially last week, if you watch the Rift game, there was also a GP that really got heavily punished and still managed to do a lot of damage in the late game fights. So yeah, looks like a highly contested pick now.
Definitely have to watch out for that in the finals as well. Over to you, Kat.
Okay, well, I'll just take a second, because obviously we mentioned it at the start, but thank you guys for being so sportsmanlike and, allowing UWE to play despite the issues in the first game. I'm sure they really, really appreciated that. Obviously we did as well, so thank you.
I guess they are welcome. We really didn't want to get into the grand finals by cheesing an unfortunate circumstances, right?
Yeah, and I mean, things do happen. Obviously, we heard from him that one of the players was in an accident. Obviously, he came out okay and everyone's fine. But yeah, I mean, it's stressful, I bet. So it's nice to be able to not have to worry about the impact that might have had on the games and just, play. So my question will be, what do you think has changed, or if anything, between this series and your last series? Obviously, you lost 2-0. And I think there were pretty harsh losses against Reef. So what have you done in the meantime to...
Calling them harsh losses is... Them.
Sorry, you disagree?
I mean, no, they were harsh losses.
Okay,
harsh losses, I'm just joking a bit.
No worries.
Well, I don't think that much changed. It's just that we are kind of looking to get back into our group, into our game, to really force them to play our game.
Yes.
Because really every team except for us is okay, we picked 3 scaling champions on all lanes and a tank jungler, and we just prayed to get into the 45-minute range.
Yeah.
And then out teamfight us, or out teamfight anyone really, because it's not that hard to play the Karma with Sivir, with stuff like Jinx and Lulu and Milio.
Agreed.
So that's kind of what we are trying not to do into them. But we will see. We have some spicy stuff prepared for the finals.
Okay.
So hopefully we'll get to show something off.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing it, because even just watching your series today, how I felt was, UWE can teamfight kind of maybe better than you, at least in the first game it looked that way, right? but you guys were ripping them apart in the solo lanes. You were really just not giving them space to breathe or play the game. So it was nice to see. It feels like that is your style, obviously going in a different direction from the other teams. So yeah, okay, right, over to you then, Crewman.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, kind of jumping off that, honestly, you know, as you just said, Kat, you know, the style that we kind of were witnessing from you guys over here on Polymorphed was a lot of strength from these solo lanes. But what we were kind of expecting from your opponents tonight, from the side of Underworld Empire, was the Halem down there on the bottom side was going to be a really, really big threat to you. And definitely in game one, you know, the AD carry down there did kind of pop off on the Sivir. So I'm curious to hear from you, Magic. Is this something that you all over there on Polymorph also identified as maybe being a really big strength of Underworld Empire? And, you know, how did you take that into account when you were preparing for this matchup?
We definitely took account that enemy bot lane, so Calum, and his supporter, whose name I forgot right now. I'm sorry. Don't nail me. Thank you. They were a huge threat, especially for the, again, late game scaling. They played a lot of Lulu, they played a lot of the extra super hyper scaling AD carries with like Lulu, Thresh, even some Yumi. So definitely they were a huge threat in the mid-late game teamfights, and we hope to shut them down in the second and third game. We didn't respect the Sivir in the first one at all, and we got really punished. Even though I do have to say, I think the Olaf there was a bit suicidal. You know, running into the Sivir was not the best experience of my life.
I mean, Sivir can oftentimes be referred to as a bit of a, you know, one-woman meat grinder or wood chipper, you know, whatever you prefer. So definitely, you know, the Olaf didn't seem like he was having a great time in that first one, but obviously you were able to turn things around. Back over to you, Kat.
Okay, well, you mentioned briefly that, you know, you had some shaky moments in the games, whether that was just you as a team. Obviously, you got MVP for your performance today, so just talk me through a little bit what some of your key thoughts were, like either on, you know, why you were able to win or what was going wrong maybe in the games.
So, okay. So the reason I think a big step up for this week was especially our mid laner and our support. I'm sorry, Logic Fangirl, I'm sorry, and Mita or Matia Maso. Huge step ups in my opinion. Shot calling from Abdu Fangirl, Logic Fangirl, doesn't matter, was insane this week. He really stepped up his game. I don't think we would be able to get there at game 2, game 3 if it wasn't for him. And Mita had like huge moments in game 3. With Rakan.
Really good picks.
It was insane. As to me, I think I really need to take more like backseat approach to the games and really play my champions and look to really play the team fights well. I feel like I played the team fights pretty well all around, even on the Olaf game. Except for the one, semi-well.
Sure, no, I mean, I think it's fine. I mean, it's always a little bit hard to, you know, talk with perfect accuracy when you've just played, and you're obviously going to be a bit biased, but I don't see there's anything wrong with that. Like, it was a good performance at the end of the day, and you did come out on top in the fights, but, I mean, it's interesting to hear about Logic Fangirl, because he's been smashing in all of the laning phases.
I mean, he is insane.
Yeah, I mean, he's been having individually a really good performance. So to hear that he stepped up in terms of shot calling and just like performance on a team, it's crazy.
Yeah, I want to praise him for a few seconds more because I really think he's insane. He's like by far the most mechanical player I've ever seen, and usually he does not say basically anything in the game. Sometimes it's like the random kill Aphelios, you know, that kind of thing, you know. But today on the game 2 and game 3, he saw the mood was kind of down from game 1 because we didn't play to our desired perfection. And he really stepped up game 2, game 3 for shot calling and for generally managing around the mid game really well. I feel like we did a pretty good job securing objectives and looking for rotations.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right to sing his praises from the sounds of it, because people that can do that are very far and few. And I mean, it's definitely what makes a difference in these tense situations where things aren't going the way you want, you know? So yeah, it's really nice to hear. Seems like a nice guy. Crewman, give it another go.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love to hear that about Logic Fangirl. You know, it's really awesome to hear that they were able to step up in that way. Definitely really impressive stuff. And
Cat Fangirl soon.
Yeah, we're all fans of Fangirl here.
Okay.
But Magic, for what it's worth, I do also think that on the Olaf in Game 1, you were playing those team fights about as well as you could. So I do want to give you some credit there also. But my next question for you is kind of going to be more related towards this third game. Obviously, games 1 and 2 were very, very close. Both of them went pretty late and were very back and forth between the two teams. And game 3 was definitely the quickest and most one-sided, I think it's safe to say, out of the 3. So my question for you is, was there a moment in this third game where you felt like the team was pretty much in control and you were feeling, really confident that, there was a moment, based on the state of the game where it was your game to lose?
I think the moment for me at least was like of course the bot side did a great job of the map. They did a great job. They got like 4 kills in the early game in the early skirmish, so it was really our game to lose. Also, insane roam from Logic Vanger on top lane, security kill, and the moment GP gets a lead into Sion, it's kind of I can snowball it really hard, and I got another kill from an R. So that moment, like the moment I'm 1-0 and my bot lane isn't behind, I think the game is kind of done.
Yeah,
they don't really have anyone. They don't really have anyone to deal with the GP. I don't even think they have anyone to deal with the Olaf, because really Olaf is really good into Varus, he's really good into Lulu, he's really good into Gragas. They kind of have nothing to deal with him just running in with the support from Rakan, flashing in, doing some damage. They don't really have anything to burst him down, unless they literally just use everything. And I don't think that's really possible with the GP ult coming in and Arif from the side. So yeah, literally the moment we just didn't get stomped out of the game, I think the game was ours to lose.
Nice.
Yeah, definitely. You were absolutely able to find a nice early lead for yourselves in that third game, and it's nice to hear that that was enough to give you a lot of confidence in actually being able to close things out. It definitely did come through on the Rift as well.
I mean, me myself, I just wanted to finish this thought. Me myself, I was really confident the moment we got the R3 gangplank.
Yeah, I thought.
I really was. I mean, not scared, because basically the thought was if they picked GP, I would just smash through it with the Aatrox because they didn't ban it. So I was really confident on them just not doing anything when we R3'd. So it's kind of like we did ban the KO just in case because really hard matchup. But I don't think I was really confident with how 1-2-3 in draft went. So yeah.
Okay. I mean, I also think when I saw the B3, I was a little bit worried, and then the minute I saw GP, I was like, yeah, we've got this one in the bag. I think this can go very heavily in your favor. I mean, obviously it did. So I'm going to go on a little bit of a wider tangent now, because it's always nice to ask in here. So just tell me about your experience with CWL. Like, any thoughts on the season? How has it been for you? Just a little overview really for us. Like, got any thoughts or feelings on the season as a whole?
So this is the first time I have ever participated, or any of my team actually participated in the CWL.
Okay.
And we all have extremely, extremely positive. Like basically everything around the league is really positive. The casting is absolutely out of this world. We have never seen. We have played in. Other like semi pro leagues, right? We played in. Gal when it was a thing. We played in like low division ERLs from some stuff in a brief period of time, and they either had no casting or the casting was like quite poor, or the production, or the production was kind of meh. But in CWL it's insane. I always love tuning into the streams for the first or second division. I basically watch them all.
God,
honestly, just for
that.
the cast, like you guys and Zaddos, absolutely insane.
I see.
Absolutely insane. So yeah, that was a huge plus. And honestly, like the entire structure of the, I would have preferred if this match was a BO5, and that's the only thing I can say it was not perfect. I really feel like at least like playing for the third slot, basically you are deciding between going to finals and ending third, and I really think that should be a BO5.
Important, yeah.
Other than that, I think the format was really well made. I really enjoyed the BO2s during the season, so you basically just, it's kind of quicker, and you don't have to play 2 days a week, which is a huge plus. Because usually you have like 2 hours to play a BO2, right?
Yeah.
But in a day, like you can get 5 people from your team and 5 people from the enemy team and get them one day to play for 2 hours. It's way harder to do it twice a week, right? For an hour.
Yeah.
So I much prefer this format to anything else. The playoff format, as I said, only the BO5 is what's missing in my opinion, but overall insane. This kind of format allowed Underworld Empire to really make an insane lower bracket run.
Yeah, true.
Sad that we stopped them, but happy we stopped them. That kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll just add on a little bit to that question. Tell me about you guys as a team then, because obviously you're all new to us and new to CWL. I don't know if you're new as a team, but I mean, just tell me about how it's been playing through. Do you all get along, etc.?
We have been playing together for somewhere around 3 months at this point.
Okay, yeah.
3 months, yeah. So this is actually, I think, like the second longest or the longest time I have ever spent with 5 people in a team.
Really? Well,
I mean, usually someone just leaves, bad mental or something. I feel like we are really dealing with it way better than usually. Everyone is really nice.
Yeah.
They do meme me quite a lot, and I sometimes get frustrated. Logic could tell you. But yeah, they are great guys. I love playing with them. We need to be a bit more flexible in draft, I feel like, in the later series. But really, I love playing with these guys, and I hope we can do more greater things in the future together.
Good. I mean, there's always room to improve, but as long as you're enjoying the game together,
exactly.
I think that's the most important thing. Like, win or lose, just enjoy it. Yeah. Okay, very nice to hear. Well, crewman, have you got anything else? I think that's basically it for me.
I think I do have one more question. Really great to hear that you guys all get along so well over there on Polymorphed, and it really does shine through on the Rift as well, that you work very well together as a team. And of course, I do want to thank you, Magic, as well, for the very kind words. Glad to hear on the production side of things that you all enjoy what we do as well. So that obviously makes us very happy. But my last question for you is going to be looking forwards now towards these finals once again. What are kind of just your expectations going in? Obviously, I'm sure that you believe that you can win against Reef this time around, and I don't want you to be leaking any secret strategies or anything like that, but just how are you feeling heading into that matchup, just in general?
Pretty good. I mean, it always gives you a boost of confidence when you beat anyone really in a BO3, and I feel like we are well equipped to beat them in a BO5. We got caught off guard by some interesting picks last week, and we didn't expect them. And we ourselves had some really questionable drafts in that series. And I feel like individually we can match up to the opposition. So hopeful, but realistic,
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I think we are definitely looking forward to seeing you go up against them in that rematch. Absolutely. But Magic, I think we are going to go ahead and hand over the mic to you now for a moment. If you have any words for the stream, anybody you want to shout out, any thoughts towards your teammates or your opponents or anything like that, anything you have to say at all?
I would like to shout out the entire CWL staff and everyone making it possible. It has been a great experience, as well as my teammates for carrying my ass when it is necessary. And of course, everyone that's actually watching and supporting us, and everyone who voted for me in the MVP chat. Yeah, those are the real MVPs, guys.
Of course. Well, congratulations again, Magic, on the 2-1 tonight on securing your spot in the grand finals, and also thank you so much for joining us for this interview. Really appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure.
It has been my pleasure. Thank you very guys for casting.
Of course.
It has been great.
Glad you enjoyed it.
I am rooting for you guys.
There it is.
Thank you.
Apto fangirl with another fan. Of course, I'm sure you're a fan of the rest of Polymorphed as well.
Now
right,
we have been cast a curse and we are doomed.
Yep.
Oh.
It's okay. Logical ask for another quick series, and that'll even it out.
There we go. The counter curse could come through there.
Okay.
Now, thank you again, Magic. That's going to pretty much do it from us tonight. Those grand finals going to be this coming weekend on either Saturday or Sunday, I believe. So definitely stay tuned for more info regarding that, guys. Kat, do you have any final thoughts, any closing remarks on the match tonight on Season 5 overall?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the match. I'm happy it went the way it did, and I'm happy there were no issues after the rocky start. I'm really looking forward to finals now. It'll be interesting to see what both teams can show in a best of 5, because I think my interpretation of how the series went seems to line up with his interpretation of the series. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle the picks from Reef and, what sort of picks they throw out themselves. So overall, pleasantly surprised. I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, it's just been a nice experience. It was good to actually cast with you, crewman. Obviously the first time we've actually had the chance to cast together.
I think so.
Yeah, so was a pleasurable experience, and I'd say it's been a good night. I hope everyone else has enjoyed it, and we're all looking forward to the final.
Absolutely. I'm glad you had a good time tonight, Kat. I obviously had a very enjoyable experience casting with you as well. You had a lot of great things to say here, obviously. And that is going to do it for now, though. Hopefully we can get together again to cast sooner rather than later. Is going... we shall see, indeed.
Yeah.
That is going to conclude our stream tonight, guys. So thank you, everybody, so much for watching. From myself, from Kat here, from the entire production team at the Cobalt Wins League. We appreciate y'all very much. We'll see you this coming weekend for the grand finals. But for now, thanks for watching.